Chapter 867. Empress Dowager Lu opened her eyes wide, staring straight at the scarlet-red clouds. After a long while, however, he still couldn't see the person who had been engulfed by the clouds appear. Slowly, the scarlet-red clouds surrounding Su Qing'er gradually thinned out, and the hazy scene became clearer and clearer. Everyone opened their eyes wide and looked over, but a strange scene appeared. It was empty. Other than Su Qing'er, who was trembling in place, there was no one else. Everything was the same as before, and everything had vanished into thin air. When Empress Dowager Lu and the rest fled, a total of 19 people rushed out, but she brought at least 60 people with her. Now that there were only 19 people left, that meant that there were more than 40 people who did not know if they were alive or dead, and it was extremely likely that they had been erased by Su Qing'er. More than 40 Spirit Emperor experts. Empress Dowager Lu felt as if her heart was about to jump out of her throat. When she looked at Su Qing'er again, she was filled with fear and shock. To kill so many experts in the blink of an eye, it would be extremely easy for her to get rid of her. Where are they? Where did they go? The people at the side shouted in fear. Did they all get killed by this woman? They're all dead? Spirit Sage. This person must have the strength of a spirit sage. Oh my God, I'm actually facing a spirit sage. Facing a saint. Panicked voices rose and fell. Everyone was completely panicking this time. Spirit sage. That was an existence that had transcended the mortal realm. Spirit cultivator of this level was no longer a mortal. They were already saints who had just peeked into the heavenly Tao. To go against a saint, wouldn't that be going against the heavens? Empress Dowager, what should we do now? One of them mustered up his courage, and flew to Empress Dowager Lu's side and said softly. Facing the spirit sage, just relying on these people was far from enough. What are you panicking for? Empress Dowager Lu clenched her teeth and shouted angrily. Everyone was shocked and lowered their heads in unison, not daring to say a word. But Empress Dowager Lu snorted and said coldly, although she is a spirit sage, but so what? Could it be that my dignified kingdom of ZU is afraid of this spirit sage? Even if that's the case, but the Empress Dowager is right now, we are unable to contend against the spirit sage, and if we go over to take them, we will just be throwing our lives away. One of them said in a trembling voice. Are you afraid of death? Empress Dowager Lu turned her head and glared at him. Empress Dowager, your humble servant. Your humble servant didn't mean that. It's just that everything you're doing now is a meaningless sacrifice. Men, capture him. Empress Dowager Lu shouted, since he is afraid of death, then cripple his cultivation and expel him from the kingdom of ZU. My celestial nation doesn't need cowards who are afraid of death. Empress Dowager. That's not what I meant, Empress Dowager. Men. Yes. The two guards braced themselves and ran over, directly bringing the spirit cultivator away. No matter how miserably the spirit cultivator screamed, it was unable to shake the Empress Dowager's determination. When the others saw this, they immediately understood Empress Dowager Lu's determination. Thus, no one dared to make a sound, afraid that Empress Dowager Lu would be dissatisfied and suffer together. Empress Dowager, since we are not afraid of death, we still need to deal with this person immediately. Currently, His Highness Sun Li and Princess Sun Xiangyan are nowhere to be seen, and this humble subject is worried that they will be persecuted by this person. Since this person is Shangguan Mei Yang's disciple, she must have some connections with the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace. We should find Shangguan Mei Yang right now and send someone to contact the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace to let them deal with this person. An old minister walked over and said in a low voice. With that said, Empress Dowager Lu's gloomy face looked much better. Listen, that's what I want to hear. You people, when you encounter a sudden change, you will panic. If you don't cultivate your temperament, you won't be able to achieve anything in the future. The Empress Dowager snorted, then said in a deep voice, Immediately send someone to the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace, and get Shangguan Qingqing to quickly give me an explanation. In addition, seal off the palace, find Shangguan Meiyang and Princess Xianyan, and His Highness Sun Li, do you understand? This subordinate will do it immediately. A servant replied and then hurriedly ran away. This person doesn't seem to be right. She doesn't seem to have any intention of attacking us. Empress Dowager, we can temporarily not move and quietly observe the situation. We should first think of a countermeasure and make arrangements. That's right, I remember that something was wrong with this girl when she was with Shangguan Meiyang. This humble subject thinks that we should set up a formation around this place. With this palace as the point, we should construct a cage and trap her first. All right. Empress Dowager Lu nodded in satisfaction. You guys go and do it immediately. Yes, sir. Quite a few people dispersed, but more and more people rushed over from all directions of the palace. Empress Dowager. At this moment, a cry came from afar. Empress Dowager Lu turned around and saw the second prince, Sun Gonghu, leading a large number of experts over. Seeing this, Empress Dowager Lu felt relieved. Gonghu is here, I have nothing to worry about. When everyone saw who it was, their nervous hearts relaxed a lot. Sun Gonghu rushed over and bowed to Empress Dowager Lu. Gonghu greets the Empress Dowager. Don't be so polite. Get up and talk. Empress Dowager Lu smiled. Yes, Empress Dowager. Sun Gonghu stood up. He looked at Su Qinger and said, Empress Dowager, Gonghu already knows about this matter, knowing that this person's strength is not ordinary. Gonghu brought more than 40 experts above the 8th stage of the Spirit Emperor as fast as he could to support him. No matter where these experts were placed in the ultimate martial world, they would be an astonishing force. However, in the kingdom of Ziyu, they would only be thugs. Hearing that, although Empress Dowager Lu was happy, she still shook her head. Not enough, this person is an existence of the Spirit Sage. With just the Spirit Emperor, no matter how many people come, they will only be throwing their lives away. Spirit Sage? Everyone was shocked. Sun Gonghu was even more stunned. If the other party was really a Spirit Sage, just relying on this little bit of people would not be enough. However, who could the kingdom of Ziyu find to contend against the experts of the Spirit Sage? Everyone was worried, and understood why Empress Dowager Lu stopped here to deal with the Spirit Sage. I'm afraid I'll need an army. Empress Dowager, could it be that my immortal country is unable to do anything to a mere Spirit Sage? Sun Gonghu said in a low voice. My immortal country can easily kill the Spirit Sage. The Empress Dowager is completely free of worries. Oh? What can you do? Empress Dowager Lu hurriedly asked. Gonghu is useless, but the ancestors of the immortal country left behind many treasures. My immortal country's national treasure, the Sword of Congealed Cloud, will definitely be able to kill this person. Sun Gonghu said, his voice somewhat tense. With that said, Empress Dowager Lu's face immediately darkened. The Sword of Congealed Cloud is a treasure left behind by our ancestors, and can be said to be a divine object of our immortal country. If we use it on this person, how should we explain it to our ancestors? If we don't get rid of this person, the immortal country will definitely be destroyed. Destroy? It's not that serious, a Spirit Sage doesn't have that ability. Empress Dowager Lu turned her head and stared at Su Qinger and said, But this person's methods make me feel strange. Strange? The technique this person uses is quite similar to my immortal country's national technique, the Moon Cloud technique. However, the clouds created by the Moon Cloud divine technique are all purple in color, while the clouds she uses are crimson in color. Furthermore, its power is extremely terrifying. It seems like it's not, but it's really strange. How could this person know such a method? Sun Gonghu asked. I don't know either. Empress Dowager Lu said indifferently. But from the looks of it, she seems to be enduring some kind of torture. I don't know if she is injured or something. Let's wait for a while, and wait for the enchantment imprint to be placed around here. Yes, Empress Dowager, Sun Gonghu said. More and more experts from the kingdom of Ziyu rushed over, surrounding Sun Xianyan's sleeping quarters so tightly that not even a drop of water could trickle through. The array master had already begun to prepare the materials. Everyone also sacrificed their magic treasures, as if they were facing a great enemy. Master, shall we go down the barrier directly? The Empress Dowager has ordered it. Attack or defend the realm. We can't take this person for now. Let's first guard the realm and trap him. We'll act according to the situation. All right. The array master received the order and immediately set up the boundary. There were quite a few array masters, and a defensive barrier took less than half an incense stick of time to set up. Everything was going on in an orderly manner, and people were becoming more and more confident. After all, this was the imperial palace of the kingdom of Ziyu. Even the spirit sage could not be impudent. Activate the barrier. A cry rang out. The array master immediately took out a stone filled with energy and placed it at the source of the barrier. When the stone entered the source, the entire formation seemed to have been reborn and began to activate. However, after the first barrier appeared, Su Qing'er, who was still holding on to her delicate body and trembling, was immediately like a lioness that had been awakened. She suddenly raised her empty eyes and looked at the barrier that enveloped the entire sleeping quarters. Then, she moved her finger. Crash! Countless scarlet clouds floated over from the sky. The clouds and mist gathered and covered the sky, leaving only a scarlet-red color in the entire world. This is bad. Empress Dowager Lu's face changed. Disperse. All of you disperse. Everyone felt that something was wrong. How could they dare to stay around the sleeping quarters? They quickly retreated. The scarlet clouds in the sky gathered into a large ball, rippling through the world, and then directly fell to the ground, like a shocking iron rock falling from the sky. When the people from all four sides saw this scene, they were all shocked. The sixth grade of the three souls had escaped from their shells. Dong! A loud sound rang out, so loud that it could tear apart the sky. The entire purple moon immortal island suddenly sank a bit, and the surrounding seawater was also shocked into a towering wave. The air pressure shattered all the buildings around Sun Xianyan's chamber, sending people flying and crushing things into smithereens. Dust and fog filled the air. Empress Dowager Lu and the rest were forced back a few thousand meters by the sudden descent of the iron cloud. However, when everyone regained their senses and looked over, all that was reflected in their eyes was a pile of ruins, a palace in ruins. All the buildings were destroyed, leaving only Sun Xianyan's chamber unscathed. Chapter 868. How could this be? Empress Dowager Lu muttered. The scene in front of her had already exceeded her imagination. All the buildings here were made of special materials, and every building was covered with enchantments. They would not be easily destroyed, but in front of Su Qing'er, they were as weak as paper. If Sun Xiangyan's sleeping quarters were not by Su Qing'er's side, it would probably be crushed by the iron cloud that was as hard as steel. Seeing this, Empress Dowager Lu already understood that the current Su Qing'er was not someone that the kingdom of Ziyu could defeat by relying on manpower. Even if the army of the kingdom of Ziyu came, it would only add blood and be useless. Empress Dowager, I'm afraid that this person's cultivation is not someone who has just entered the spirit sage realm. A person whispered worriedly. Perhaps even higher. This was because everyone had dodged in time, and Su Qing'er's target was the defensive enchantment that the array masters had just set up. Otherwise, none of them would have been able to escape. In the past, Su Qing'er did not have any good conditions to cultivate. With her physique, she could leap 1,000 miles with just a little help, but this kind of body had its limit. Quick! Go get the congealing cloud sword. Empress Dowager Lu growled. Empress Dowager. Really? Are we really going to use the national treasure? A minister was worried. This person's strength is beyond our imagination. If we continue to hide it at this time, then we will not only lose our national treasure, but also the imperial might of the entire kingdom of Zu. Empress Dowager Lu clenched her teeth. She knew that she would not be able to take down Su Qing'er in a short period of time. Although the power of the kingdom of Zu could still fight with the existence of the spirit sage, after this battle, the palace would most likely be gone, and this was not what Empress Dowager Lu wanted to see. The Empress Dowager gave the order, and no one dared to disobey. Immediately, someone left to retrieve the congealing cloud sword with the Empress Dowager's order. Just then, two figures suddenly walked out from the entrance of Sun Xiangyan's sleeping quarters. Both of them were staggering, as if they were extremely weak. Looks? When Empress Dowager Lu saw one of them, she was shocked. These two people were Sun Xiangyan and Shangguan Mei Yang. At the moment, Shangguan Mei Yang's face was extremely pale, her pink hair was messily draped over her shoulders. Sun Xiangyan supported her as they walked out step by step, and when they saw the surrounding scene, the two girls' faces were filled with shock. Grand Empress Dowager? Sun Xiangyan was the first to notice the person in the distance, and cried out involuntarily. Beauty, what's going on? Empress Dowager Lu asked. This, Sun Xiangyan hesitated. If it was said that they did not see Sun Xiangyan before, everyone would have thought that she was also a victim. Now that they saw that Sun Xiangyan was safe and sound and was together with Shangguan Mei Yang, no one would believe that this Su Qing'er had nothing to do with her. Beauty! Is this person from the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace? Seeing that Sun Xiangyan did not speak, Empress Dowager Lu continued. Yes. Sun Xiangyan lowered her head. Then why is she doing this? Why did you destroy my palace? Is the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace looking down on my kingdom of Zu? Empress Dowager Lu asked again, her voice raised by an octave and her brows furrowed. That's not the case. Please don't misunderstand, Empress Dowager. Sun Xiangyan hurriedly said, Qing'er made a mistake in her cultivation, that's why she's like this. She didn't mean it, please forgive her, Empress Dowager. It's not intentional? Empress Dowager Lu coldly snorted again and again. She has already killed dozens of my immortal country experts and destroyed my palace. If she did not mean it, once this matter spreads out, where would my immortal country's face be? Furthermore, how could a spirit sage be someone from the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace? Does the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace have the ability to teach the existence of the spirit sage? Empress Dowager, I see that this person's physique is special and her talent is extraordinary. Furthermore, the techniques she uses are quite similar to my celestial country's national techniques. Beauty, speak honestly. Was the forbidden area destroyed by this person? This person, did he secretly learn my celestial country's national techniques? Qing'er she. Sun Xiangyan stammered, but she did not know how to reply to the Empress Dowager. However, the Empress Dowager did not give her a chance to explain and directly interrupted her. Beauty, you don't need to say any more. I see that you are so close to her, but she did not attack you. I believe that your relationship with her is not shallow. Now, I order you to quickly subdue this person and hand him over to us. Do you hear me? Sun Xiangyan was in a dilemma. How could the current Su Qing'er be subdued by her? If you do not obey, then you will no longer have anything to do with my kingdom of Zu. Empress Dowager Lu growled. The pale Shangguan Mei Yang turned her head and looked at Sun Xiangyan. She could see the difficulty and pain in her senior sister's eyes. But I can't do that. However, not long after, Sun Xiangyan opened her mouth and shouted. Beauty, this matter has nothing to do with junior sister and Qing'er in the first place. All of this was caused by Sun Di. If he did not fake the edict to take Qing'er and junior sister away, how could junior sister and the others escape? How could junior sister be injured? How did Qing'er become like this? Sun Xiangyan raised her head and shouted boldly. How dare you? Empress Dowager Lu flew into a rage. Sun Xiangyan, have you forgotten your surname? Your surname is Sun. You are a member of the Sun family. You actually speak up for outsiders. This matter has nothing to do with Qing'er and Junior's sister. Empress Dowager, Qing'er's current situation is very dangerous, and the current situation of the kingdom of Ziyu is also very dangerous. I must protect Qing'er's mind right now, otherwise, the consequences will be unimaginable. Unimaginable? So what? Since she has offended my royal might, she must pay the price. Empress Dowager Lu stared at Sun Xiangyan and asked angrily, Xiangyan, let me ask you, where is Sun Di? Sun Di. Sun Xiangyan's mouth froze. Seeing that, Empress Dowager Lu was immediately enraged. Was Sun Di killed by her? Sun Xiangyan had a straightforward personality and had never lied to anyone in her life. Now that Empress Dowager Lu was questioning her, she didn't know how to reply. Seeing her granddaughter in such a state, how could a smart person like Empress Dowager Lu not guess what was going on? At this moment, her hatred for Su Qing'er had reached its peak, and she couldn't wait to kill Su Qing'er right now. At this moment, a sharp intent gushed over from behind. The people of the Violet Moon Immortal Empire all turned their heads over, only to see a group of soldiers clad in armor flying over in an orderly fashion. The person in the lead was a white-robed man with white hair and robes, exuding a carefree aura. At this moment, he was holding a sword sheath in his hands, and that sharp intent was coming from within the sword sheath. The sword of congealing cloud. Someone cried out in alarm. The person holding the sword sheath was the sword slave of the sword of congealing cloud. Empress Dowager, you actually took out the sword of congealing cloud? Sun Xiangyan turned pale with fright. If I don't use this sword, how can I kill this person? Empress Dowager Lu said angrily, we cannot lose the royal family's style. This person must be executed. With that, she pointed at Su Qing'er and shouted, Sword slave, use my king's sword and kill this person. Yes, sir. The white-haired man in white robes shouted loudly. He raised his sword and rushed forward. His body was like a white meteor as he slashed towards them. At the same time, there was also a supreme sword intent. When Shangguan Meiyang felt the sword intent, she immediately started to tremble. At that moment, she was already severely injured, and had just been pulled back from the gates of hell by Sun Xiangyan. How could she still be able to withstand this power? Before the sword slave could even get close, she spat out a mouthful of blood with a whoosh sound. In almost an instant, Su Qing'er, who was still curled up, suddenly raised his head, his pair of empty eyes staring straight at the sword slave that was rushing towards him. This is bad. Sun Xiangyan's face changed. Although Su Qing'er's consciousness was gradually being drowned by the surging energy in her body, her subconscious was still there. Shangguan Meiyang was her master, and now that she was injured by the sword pressure, her subconscious exploded, and she was afraid that she would no longer be able to defend herself. Sure enough, Su Qing'er immediately raised her palm and grabbed towards the sword slave in the air. At this moment, a terrifying suction force was released from her seemingly delicate little hand, causing the sword servant's body to collide with her palm involuntarily. Sword shakes the four seas. The sword slave anxiously shouted. He raised his sword and pierced towards his palm. The sword body of the congealed cloud sword immediately shot out 4 cloud dragons, circling around the sharp blade and attacking Su Qing'er. Clang, clang, clang. The cloud dragon was like iron, releasing a dull sound of iron, but when it approached Su Qing'er, it was blocked by the scarlet clouds around her body. Bang! The sword slave was also sucked over and smashed fiercely onto the scarlet cloud. As soon as he got close to the scarlet cloud immediately reacted and started to squirm, turning into a big mouth that swallowed him whole. Flying swallow chasing the moon. The sword slave roared again, the congealed cloud sword in his hand suddenly disappeared, and at the same time, even more dense purple clouds appeared around Su Qing'er. A large number of sword images shot out from the purple clouds. In the blink of an eye, there were hundreds of thousands of them, all of them aimed at Su Qing'er and slashed crazily. A series of ding-ding-dang-dang-dang sounds could be heard. The terrifying sword pressure and sharp sword intent could not dissipate, and very quickly, Su Qing'er was engulfed by the sword images. Such an astonishing sword technique was simply unimaginable by ordinary people. The scarlet clouds that were mixed in the purple clouds also slowly weakened. Seeing this scene, the people of the Purple Moon Immortal Kingdom heaved a sigh of relief. It seemed that the Celestial Kingdom's national treasure was indeed effective against the spirit profound saint. Whoosh! Suddenly, the sky darkened. Everyone was shocked and immediately looked around. A large number of dark clouds had gathered in the sky, and the stars were flickering behind the clouds. However, what was especially eye-catching was that behind the clouds, there was an extremely bright moon. This is the power to control the stars in the sky? Empress Dowager Lu's face changed. As if she had sensed something, she clenched her teeth and roared. Go! Everyone, go and kill this person, quickly! Chapter 869. The Empress Dowager seemed to have sensed something, and no one dared to be careless. At this moment, they took out all of their trump cards and attacked Su Qing'er together. The chaotic and dazzling spells collided non-stop, but every time they got close to Su Qing'er, they would instantly vanish into thin air, and be completely isolated by the clouds. He couldn't get in at all. Just by relying on the power of the Spirit Emperor, it was impossible to injure Su Qing'er in the slightest. Her current strength was too strong. Whiz! Just then, a ray of blue light suddenly descended from the sky. The light shot downwards and shone onto Su Qing'er's body, completely fusing with her body. Everyone widened their eyes and looked at this scene in astonishment. The aura of the light was extremely dense, almost filling the air, causing the hair on the surrounding people to stand on end. When the light shone down, the sword slave's congealed cloud sword was unable to break through the light. The current Su Qing'er was like an invincible existence. What is this? Cries of alarm came from all directions. Empress Dowager Lu shouted at the top of her lungs. Attack the top of the light, quick, attack the pivot door there. She is obtaining the power of the moon god. Hurry up and attack. The power of the moon god? When everyone heard this, they were both alarmed and confused. What kind of power was this? The sword slave did not dare to be negligent, and immediately followed the Empress Dowager's instructions, attacking the area above the light. A series of sword images collided with it, producing crackling sounds. The light did indeed tremble, but it did not shatter. No, Empress Dowager, we can't break it easily. One of them shouted while panting. Go! Empress Dowager Lu suddenly gave the order. Go! Everyone thought they had heard wrongly. Go! Didn't Empress Dowager Lu always want to kill Su Qing'er? Why did he leave so decisively at this time? Get everyone to leave the palace immediately. Quick! Immediately send someone to the Heaven's Palace and invite the old ancestor over. This person is no longer someone we can deal with. Let's go. With that, the Empress Dowager ignored the ministers and flew out. Seeing that, the people immediately retreated in panic. But at that moment, the light had already dissipated, and Su Qing'er, who was inside, once again appeared in everyone's line of sight. However, the Qing'er at this moment was completely different from the Qing'er just now. At this moment, Qing'er, maybe he should not look at her with the eyes of a mortal. She was dressed in a light blue fluorescent gauze with a coiled tail and a moon ring on her head. Her long hair had already turned light blue, and her skin was snow white to the extreme. There was a fluorescent crescent moon imprint on her forehead, and her entire body emitted a lustrous radiance. She was simply like a goddess. However, the most eye-catching thing was the Kai Ling that was circling around her. The ribbon seemed to have come alive. It revolved quickly around Qing'er, releasing a lustrous light, The head of the ribbon was actually facing the person who was running, and a cold, killing intent exploded out from the ribbon. Senior sister, what's going on? Shangguan Meiyang stared blankly at the current Su Qing'er, and only regained her senses after a long while, and anxiously turned to ask Sun Xiangyan. This seems to be the power of the moon god. Sun Xiangyan looked at Su Qing'er absent-mindedly. At this moment, Qing'er has already been submerged by that enormous energy. She is completely controlled by that energy, and only a little bit of her subconscious is left to support her. This energy is the energy of the ancestors of the immortal country. Qing'er must have learned my immortal country's national technique, the Moon Cloud Magic Kung Fu. This move is one of the moves of the Moon Cloud Magic Kung Fu, the power of the moon god, using the profound energy in one's body to build a bridge with the power of the moon, obtaining the power of the moon, causing one's own strength to increase explosively. The current Qing'er, I no longer know what realm she is at. Then what should we do? Isn't she going to destroy this divine cloud immortal palace? Shangguan Meiyang said in shock. I'm afraid not. Sun Xiangyan's face turned pale as she said softly. What do you mean? Shangguan Meiyang felt that something was wrong. However, Sun Xiangyan said solemnly, Father is seriously ill. The matters of the immortal country are already under the control of the Empress Dowager. Now that Qing'er is here to cause trouble, the immortal country is helpless. The Empress Dowager will definitely not let this matter rest so easily. If my guess is not wrong, the Empress Dowager will probably go and invite someone to subdue Qing'er. Shangguan Meiyang's heart skipped a beat. Who else? Who else could it be? Of course it's an immortal. Sun Xiangyan closed her eyes. Hearing that, Shangguan Meiyang became silent. Immortal? Spirit profound immortal? To the people of the ultimate martial world, that was an illusory existence. We must bring Qing'er away now. Otherwise, if the immortals come, even if they can't kill her, they will definitely be able to see through her divine body. Once the matter of Qing'er's divine body is exposed, I'm afraid that the 10,000 worlds will be in chaos. At that time, the immortals will come out in full force. Everything will be irreversible. Empress Dowager Lu and the rest did not see through Su Qing'er's special physique, but Empress Dowager Lu had already sensed her uniqueness. If there really was an immortal here, he would not be able to hide it. But Qing'er is currently unconscious. Even if we go over, we will only be courting death. Shangguan Meiyang secretly bit her lips. Even Empress Dowager Lu and the rest could not get close to Su Qing'er, so how could they get close? Not to mention taking it away. Whiz! Just then, the colorful silk that was circling around Su Qing'er moved. It was like a divine dragon that was searching for the heavens. It swayed quickly and swept towards the fleeing immortal country. When the colorful silk neared these people, it suddenly exploded. Like a blooming flower, it split into 5 parts and swept towards those people. Before those people could even escape, they were tightly wrapped up by the colorful silk. After that, the colorful silk wrapped around them a few times, and those people were directly pulled down from the sky. However, in the process of pulling, the colorful silk loosened, and the place where it was originally wrapped had already overflowed with a large amount of sand, and no one could be seen anymore. Instant kill. These spirit cultivators of the immortal country. They were all killed in an instant. Seeing this, Empress Dowager Lu was so scared that her face turned pale. What kind of power was this? She immediately took out her magic treasure and transformed into a resplendent light. She suddenly disappeared into the distance and walked extremely fast. However, once she left, the rest of them were not so lucky. How could they have such a powerful magic treasure? Sun Gonghu stared at the young lady who was like a god. At the moment, he was trembling violently. He understood that with his own methods, it was impossible for him to escape from the young lady's attack. Right now, the only thing that could save his life was a powerful magic treasure. However, he was not the Empress Dowager. How could he enjoy such a treasure? Suddenly, His gaze swept across Sun Xiangyan, who was in the distance. Sun Xiangyan and that Shangguan Meiyang are so close to this woman, but she did not attack these two people. It seems like this woman still cares about these two women. Although Sun Xiangyan and I occasionally don't see eye to eye, she is still a member of the Sun family, so she definitely won't leave me in the lurch. Thinking about it, Sun Gonghu immediately turned around and flew towards Sun Xiangyan. As soon as he moved, the colored damask on the other side immediately reacted. The colored damask exploded and divided into dozens of fine long threads. One of them attacked Sun Gonghu in a perfectly straight line. Sun Gonghu was so scared that all his hair stood on end, and he almost fell from the sky. He knew that he could not escape, but the only hope he could place on was Sun Xiangyan, who was far away. Sun Xiangyan, save me! Sun Gonghu shouted at the top of his lungs. If Su Qing'er didn't hurt Sun Xiangyan would definitely listen to her. Sun Gonghu thought. Hearing that, Sun Xiangyan looked at Sun Gonghu. Her face was filled with hesitation, but it only lasted for a while, before she rushed over. Sun Gonghu had placed his hopes on Sun Xiangyan, but it was actually a huge mistake, because the current Sun Xiangyan did not know how to deal with Su Qing'er, much less save him from her hands. Sure enough, before Sun Gonghu could even get close to Sun Xiangyan, he was entangled by the colorful silk. No! Sun Xiangyan shouted. However, in the next second, the colorful silk twitched, and Sun Gonghu's body shattered. Along with his soul, it was torn into 8 pieces. Sun Xiangyan could only see the sky full of blood and flesh falling in front of her. She was stunned. After Kai Ling killed Sun Gonghu, he retracted it, only to see Su Qing'er suddenly leaping up, and rushing towards the experts of the immortal country. Stop! Sun Xiangyan could not hold it in any longer. With a tap of her feet, she stepped into the sky and blocked Su Qing'er's path. The moment she appeared in front of Su Qing'er, Kai Ling moved, but Kai Ling did not hold on for long, and quickly returned to Su Qing'er's side. She shifted her empty eyes away, and continued to look at the spirit cultivator experts in the distance. Chasing with all her might, Kai Ling swung wildly. In the end, these existences were unable to escape Su Qing'er's methods, and were all killed. Sun Xiangyan stared blankly at all of this, as if her brain had stopped thinking. Looking at the blood that filled the sky, a sense of guilt rose in her heart. Senior sister, Shangguan Meiyang flew over, extended out her weak hand, and grabbed onto her hand tightly. Junior sister, if it wasn't for me, I'm afraid these people from the immortal country wouldn't have died so tragically, right? Sun Xiangyan turned her head and looked at her with her empty and dejected eyes. Senior sister, please don't say that. The world is unpredictable, and we don't want this to happen. What we should do now is to subdue Qing'er and bring her away as soon as possible. Otherwise, there will be uncontrollable consequences for the immortal country and Qing'er, Shangguan Meiyang said while enduring the pain. She was also rather anxious, and her speed of speaking had increased by quite a bit. However, her voice was still extremely weak, and her small face was covered in perspiration. But, with just our strength, how can we bring Qing'er away? Sun Xiangyan clutched her head and said in pain. Nothing is impossible. Shangguan Meiyang took a deep breath, then leaped up and flew towards Su Qing'er. She was severely injured, and even though she was flying, her petite body was still trembling, as if she would fall from the sky at any time. Chapter 870. Qi. An ear-piercing sound rang out in the pitch-black yet spacious ancient tomb. Su Yun's arm swayed and retracted the lotus star sword that was thrown out. The shadow guard in front of him had already turned into black smoke, flying into the air and disappearing. You have completed the trial I gave you. Now you will receive my inheritance. A statue behind the shadow guard spoke out. Following that, the armor on its body and other magic treasures all fell off, floated up, and neatly arranged themselves in front of Su Yun. "Thank you, Senior." Su Yun cupped his fists, then walked over and kept all the treasures in his bag. If there were pills, they would all be peerless medicines that could increase one's cultivation and strength. If there were magic treasures, Su Yun would not be so happy, because most of the magic treasures were custom-made for the great demons, and there were many magic treasures that Su Yun could not use. After rummaging around, he took out all the pills and stuffed them into his mouth one by one to digest them. Cultivating in the ancient tomb was not the best place, but Su Yun had no choice but to do it, because the statues were getting stronger and stronger, and their shadow guards were getting weirder and weirder. If he did not have the support of a strong power, it was impossible to defeat them. Su Yun was already stretched thin. After defeating a shadow guard, he had to stay where he was to recover. After 7 days of effort, Su Yun had only defeated 5 great demonic statues, but his own cultivation and experience had also soared, and he had benefited greatly. People always grew up in the midst of trials and tribulations. Those who went smoothly might not necessarily obtain more than those who went through trials and tribulations. Suddenly, a burst of chi shot up from below Su Yun's heart, straight to the head. Immediately after, his skin and flesh seemed to have been roasted over a fire, blazing hot. Was he going to break through again? Su Yun took a deep breath, closed his eyes, and quietly felt the changes in his body, guiding the energy that suddenly shot out from his body to wander around his body. The inside of his body was like a unique world. This energy was like the blazing sun after the dark night, giving the entire world a brand new look. Everything came to life, all living things revived, all living things emerged: chi meridian, blood vessels, tendons, skin, flesh, bones. At this time, everything was like a separate existence. They had their own energy, they had their own strength, they were like Su Yun's servants, they were only born for Su Yun, supporting him in everything. 9th stage of the Spirit Emperor. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes and took a deep breath. After resting for about half a day, he got up and walked towards the next statue. The increase in strength and the mastery of the profound technique made the current Su Yun extremely powerful. However, these shadow guards were not ordinary people. Their various strange and dazzling techniques were simply dazzling. Dangerous things often happened, but fortunately, they were all daunting but not dangerous, and they passed through safely. As long as he was defeated by a shadow guard, Su Yun would not be able to continue forward, and would lose the qualifications to inherit the great demon. He would have to leave the ancient tomb, and would not be able to enter the ancient tomb again. In this life, he would not be fated to inherit the great demon's inheritance. Time passed bit by bit, and Su Yun also challenged them one by one. There were many great demons, and they were all strong and weak. There were many treasures, but this did not mean that Su Yun could digest all of them. The treasures were still good, and those that he did not need could only be temporarily stored, or directly not taken, placed in the ancient tomb, and left for future generations. All right, young demon lord, I think this should be your end. Either you go back immediately or you can only fail here. Su Yun tidied himself up and continued to walk forward. Just then, a voice suddenly came out. The moment the voice came out, he was stunned. He looked around, but he couldn't see anything. Who? Su Yun shouted. What is it? Can't you see me? Oh, I forgot, my magic treasure is invisible. After leaving behind my clothes, my statue will no longer be visible. The voice came out again. An invisible statue? Su Yun was startled. If you can't see it, then you can't see it. A powerful spirit cultivator can no longer rely on the naked eye to distinguish and recognize the enemy. What you need is the mind's eye, young demon lord. Are you prepared to accept my test? Or have you decided to give up and leave the ancient tomb? The voice sounded again. It made people feel strange. Even if there was a voice, Su Yun could not determine the other party's location from the voice. It was as if the voice came from outside Su Yun's ears. Interesting. The corner of Su Yun's mouth raised, one hand holding onto the death sword, the other holding onto the lotus star sword. He laughed. Senior, let's begin. Let me see what's so special about Senior's treasure. What an arrogant young man! The great demon was a little angry and shouted. Then watch carefully. As soon as his voice fell, a large number of black dots the size of stones condensed in the surrounding void. These black dots appeared and quickly condensed into the shape of a shadow guard. However, this shadow guard only appeared for less than a second before suddenly disappearing. Invisible? With a tap of his feet, Su Yun leaped into the air, releasing the death sword and the lotus star sword. With a slight movement of his fingers, the sword sheath behind him immediately spewed out a large number of subordinate swords. Thousands of sharp swords arranged themselves around his body, forming a gigantic sword barrier that tightly enveloped his entire body. The flying sword was like armor protecting his body. Then, it descended from the sky and began to walk around. The flying sword on the outside pointed its blade outward. Although it was invisible, the other party was still there. As long as he touched it, he would know the other party's location. Su Yun sped up and circled around the empty surroundings. However, he did not find any trace of the other party. The ancient tomb was only so big, and the challenge range of a single statue was limited. Normally, the shadow guards of this statue would not easily approach the other statues, in case they activated the energy left behind by the great demons in the other statues. But, if there was no one here, then where would the other party be? Could it be that this shadow guard was also extremely fast? If that was the case, then it would be troublesome. An existence that was already invisible, coupled with extreme speed, to an ordinary person, this was simply an illusory opponent. Using the sword as a shield to protect yourself? But do you think that's enough? The great demon's voice sounded again. Following that, Su Yun heard a strange sound of bones rubbing against each other. Following that, a large amount of devil chi appeared from all directions. The devil chi actually seeped through the barrier formed by the flying swords, and directly attacked Su Yun, who was inside. When they passed through, they once again condensed into the shape of a shadow guard, and then disappeared. He came in. A cold light flashed past Su Yun's eyes. With a move of his finger, all the flying swords in all directions suddenly flew towards him, and suddenly pierced towards him. The great demon was clearly startled. Poochie 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 poochie, a strange sound rang out. Looking over, the shadow guard had actually been pierced through the heart by several flying swords. So that's how it is. The reason you set up the sword wall was to lure my shadow guard to attack you? In such a narrow place, it would be easy to force a shadow guard out. Senior, you're thinking too much. Su Yun did not plan to do this at all. It was just that the shadow guard had run over on his own, and he had casually forced it out. Everything was a coincidence, but the coincidence had become the most effective method. Although the shadow guard's heart had been pierced by the swords, it did not dissipate. Its body quickly disintegrated, turning into many tiny black particles, and quickly disappeared from Su Yun's field of vision. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately moved away. At the same time, he once again circled the flying sword around his body, and compressed the space inside. Do you still want to use this move? Fighting requires a myriad of changes. If you don't change at all, you'll lose the initiative, and you won't be far from defeat. The voice was filled with a trace of disdain. But Su Yun did not care about it and continued to move. This time, the shadow guard did not rush into the sword wall, but surrounded it and attacked, lingering around Su Yun. From time to time, a pitch-black chi sword would shoot out from the void, following the cracks in the sword wall, striking towards Su Yun, who was inside. Although the power of the chi sword was not strong, it was very crafty. Even if there was a small gap, it could still pass through. Su Yun took a deep breath, stopped in his original position, and actually closed his eyes. The great demon looked at him strangely, but did not make a sound. After the chi sword bombarded for a while, Su Yun finally opened his eyes. He extended his hand, and with a slight movement of his fingers, in an instant, the countless subordinate swords all pointed outwards, like exploding pear blossoms, flying in all directions. Poochie 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 poochie, the entire area was filled with sharp swords. The Shadow Guard had nowhere to hide and was directly stabbed out by the two swords. Su Yun's eyes flashed with hostility, his body explosively moved and rushed towards the Shadow Guard. Although the Shadow Guard was struck by the sword again and its body became extremely dim, its movements and abilities were not affected much. Its body disintegrated once again, and then dispersed in all directions, about to disappear. It was formless and shadowless, and its speed was extremely fast. Although this Shadow Guard's attack was not strong, it was unknown how difficult it was to subdue it. When a person reached the limit in any aspect, the power they displayed was universally shocking, regardless of whether it was strength or speed. But Su Yun already had a plan. Just as the Shadow Guard disappeared, he suddenly rushed over, his speed instantly exploding to the limit, causing the air to tremble. He did not know what had happened, but he saw that Su Yun was already standing at the place where the Shadow Guard had disappeared. Crash! The divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe was activated. The Shadow Guard that had disappeared had actually been forcefully gathered together. Su Yun stared straight at the Shadow Guard. He suddenly extended his hand out, grabbed its neck and pressed it to the ground, his palm releasing endless profound chi, suppressing it fiercely. So at the same time, the surrounding death swords crazily flew towards it. In an instant, the Shadow Guard was pierced into a hornet's nest, and its body instantly dimmed. It wanted to resist, pushing its strength to the limit, but it was unable to break free from Su Yun's suppression. It was firmly pressed to the ground, unable to move, as though it was being suppressed by the Five-Finger Mountain. What? The great demon let out a cry of alarm. The Shadow Guard was reduced to ashes by the sharp sword. Chapter 871. After the Shadow Guards were destroyed, there was a brief silence around the great demonic statue. After a long time, a voice came out. "You have successfully passed my test." That was the voice of the great demon. "Thank you for letting me win." Su Yun kept his swords. "You can obtain my inheritance. I will impart my fleeting shadow technique to you. I hope you can take care of yourself." With that said, a large number of grayish-black stones suddenly appeared around Su Yun. These stones were even more numerous and denser, and after they appeared, they quickly gathered towards the center. These stones seemed to have a life of their own, avoiding Su Yun and passing by his side. They quickly gathered in front of him. Very quickly, a statue of about 1.8 meters appeared in front of him. The drifting shadow art is my famous profound technique. It uses the profound energy as the meridians, circulating the entire body, and at the same time invading the opponent, seeping into their eyes and invading their consciousness, thus achieving the effect of invisibility. That's it? Doesn't that mean that apart from my opponents, everyone else can see my existence? Su Yun was stunned. If it was like this, then wouldn't this so-called gliding shadow technique be inferior to even the most basic concealment technique? How could it be so simple? The great demonic statue snorted and said, "This profound technique of mine is a supreme profound technique that has been specially researched through the creation of heaven and earth. Once it is used, it will come and go without a trace, and its movements will be as elusive as a ghost or a god. Ordinary people will not be able to detect it, and the so-called profound chi will invade the enemy's eyes and consciousness, but it will only achieve a kind of assimilation effect. Once the assimilation is successful, then, in the other party's heart, you will forever be a person who will not exist, formless, shadowless, spiritless, soulless. Even those who have already stepped onto the path of immortality, in their hearts, you are already someone who does not exist." Great Tao of immortality? Su Yun's face was startled. What kind of supreme great Tao was that? Would such a person also eat this kind of profound technique? But assimilation is not easy. In order to assimilate, you must be thoroughly familiar with the shifting shadow art, to the point where you can use it freely. And once you completely grasp the shifting shadow art, young demon lord, you will have the right to challenge any existence. The demon continued. When he said that, Su Yun's heart palpitated. Would he be qualified to challenge any existence? Spirit sage? Spirit profound? Immortal? Could it be that by grasping the gliding shadow technique, one would be able to contend with these terrifying existences? Su Yun felt like he was in a dream. Suddenly 2 beams of black light shot out from the statue's eyes. Within the black light there were white words flashing. His eyes burned as he stared at the black light, memorizing all the words in his heart. At this moment, Su Yun was staring fixedly. His body was stiff and motionless. Compared to that, he was more like a statue. The black light that shot out from the statue's eyes lasted for about 20 breaths of time before it stopped. However, Su Yun did not regain his senses for a long time. Oh, he does have some talent. A sound of approval came from the statue, as if it had sensed something. After a long while, Su Yun finally regained his senses. He lowered his head and thought for a moment, then stood up, cupped his fists and said, "Senior's flickering shadow art is indeed exquisite, although this junior has also learned a lot of profound technique, but compared to Senior's technique, most of them are nothing." Most of the profound technique? You mean to say you still have a small portion of the profound technique that can compare to my flickering shadow art? The great demonic statue released an unconvinced voice. Tell me, I want to see what profound technique can compare to my flickering shadow art. Su Yun was a little stunned. He had just said it unintentionally, but he did not expect the great demon to be so competitive. But since he had already spoken, if Su Yun did not say it, he would make the other party angry. He opened his mouth. When I first entered the ancient tomb, this junior was fortunate enough to obtain the inheritance of a few great demons from the true devil sect. One of the great demons passed down the supreme mental cultivation method yin-yang manifestation art to this junior. Although this junior does not know which of the 2 techniques is better, this junior believes that the mental cultivation method profound technique is not bad either. Oh, yin-yang manifestation art? The great demon muttered to himself, but did not say a word. This technique is definitely extraordinary. The mental cultivation method covers the universe, the chi swallows the heaven and earth, and within the profoundness, there is also an endless grandeur. It is definitely not a profound technique that mortals can touch. Su Yun touching it today is truly a blessing of 3 lifetimes, but although this technique is profound, this junior cannot slander the techniques passed down by other seniors. Therefore, in this junior's heart, there is no strongest profound technique. Hearing that, the great demon was silent for a moment, then laughed. Although what you said is a little hypocritical, I like your personality. Then, in your heart, there must be the strongest profound technique, right? The strongest? Su Yun was startled, then laughed bitterly and shook his head. The strongest is not the profound technique, but my own perseverance. As long as I persevere, I can become the strongest in anything. That's right. The great demon agreed. However, as it spoke, its statue had already begun to decay. Su Yun knew that everything that the great demon had left behind in the ancient tomb had already begun to disappear. He had also completed his mission, and the rest could only be left to the people in the future. "Oh right, young demon lord." Just as the statue was about to dissipate, the voice came out again, although it was not as loud and clear as before. "What other advice does Senior have? Let me ask you, when you controlled so many flying swords before, it did not seem like an ordinary imperial sword technique. What exactly is the imperial sword technique that you learned?" "Limitless sword arts," Su Yun whispered seriously. "Limitless sword arts? The great demon let out a shocked voice. Senior has heard of this technique? How can I not hear of the killing technique? The voice gradually faded away, and the statue of the great demon gradually decayed. Everything gradually disappeared and gradually dissipated. Killing technique? Why does Senior say that? Why? Su Yun immediately shouted, but the great demon had already disappeared, and was unable to answer Su Yun's doubts. Seeing that, Su Yun was stunned for a while. His mind was filled with confusion. Killing technique? Sword techniques were most likely meant to kill people. Not to mention sword techniques, even the ultimate goal of this, fleeting shadow art, was to kill people? But why did the great demon say that? Forget it, let's not think about it anymore. Let's take a look at the profoundness of the fleeting shadow art. After thinking about it, Su Yun sat down cross-legged and started to recall the mantra that he had seen before. The sky was filled with colorful silk, but now it had turned blood-red. The smell of blood in the air did not dissipate, and the ground was littered with corpses. The terrifying scene made one's heart tremble. Su Qing'er stood quietly in the air, the colorful silk surrounding her body, and waves of baleful aura rippled in the air. At this moment, in front of Su Qing'er, stood an exquisite figure. She was dressed in light red clothes, her exquisite face was somewhat pale, and her long pink hair was in a mess. Although she was extremely weak, she still opened her arms, and stared at the young girl in front of her with a serious expression, and said with a weak and hurried voice, "Qing'er, stop. You can't continue like this, or else you'll personally bury yourself." However, the young girl turned a deaf ear to her and continued to fly forward, as if she was ignoring the pink girl, and planned to directly jump over and head back. In the distance, there were still people from the immortal country flying around in panic. Their colorful silk danced wildly, as if they had locked onto their target and were ready to attack at any time. But just then, Shangguan Meiyang took the lead and rushed to the front of the colorful silk. "If you want to kill me again, then kill me." Shangguan Meiyang took a deep breath and closed her eyes. Her attitude was firm, and she had made up her mind. "You are a member of my divine cloud immortal palace, you have killed those people, and have made my immortal palace and ZU immortal kingdom enemies, but this is not your fault, it is all my fault, and now that you have become like this, it is also because of my incompetence as your master. If you kill me, I have nothing to say." These words were actually very helpless, but Shangguan Meiyang had no other choice. If she did not care about Su Qing'er, the consequences would be extremely severe, and at that time, not only the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace would be implicated, but even more people would be implicated. However, she had no way to stop Su Qing'er, who was extremely powerful. She was afraid that she would need at least a spirit sage expert to be able to subdue Su Qing'er. But, just as Shangguan Meiyang got close, she was wrapped up by the colorful silk and thrown to the side. There was no power to resist at all. Shangguan Meiyang's weak body immediately flew out. Seeing that, Sun Xiangyan's face changed. She immediately leaped up and caught Shangguan Meiyang in the air. "Junior sister. Are you alright?" "I'm fine. Senior sister." Shangguan Meiyang stabilized her body, clenched her teeth, broke free from Sun Xiangyan, and rushed towards Su Qing'er again. But Su Qing'er was too fast. She waved the colorful silk and rushed towards the experts of the immortal country. The colorful silk was like a dragon as it swept towards them. One of them was entangled and was instantly torn into minced meat. Bang! A sound rang out. Shangguan Meiyang saw that the colorful silk had exploded again, turning into hundreds of them, pouncing towards the crowd, and immediately shouted, "No!" Her thin and weak body rushed to the center of the terrifying colorful silk and closed her eyes. Her actions were shocking. "Junior sister!" Sun Xiangyan screamed at the top of her lungs. Sun Xiangyan's actions were simply courting death. Furthermore, the current Su Qing'er was only relying on a little bit of subconscious self-control, and this self-control ability was so low that it could be ignored. In this kind of situation, How could she stop her attacks? This was a complete and utter suicide. Sun Xiangyan knew why Shangguan Meiyang did this, because once she did this, not only would the hatred between the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace and the Kingdom of Ziyu be resolved, she would also be able to make Su Qing'er feel no guilt. Once she died, the Kingdom of Ziyu would have nothing to say, and she would have done her duty as a master. However, her strength was too weak to stop all of this. Moreover, this method was too stupid. Chapter 872. Kai Ling brought along an extremely terrifying aura, ferociously rushing forward, straight towards Shangguan Meiyang. Her delicate body was about to be entangled by the terrifying Kai Ling in an instant. However, at this time, Kai Ling stopped. Shangguan Meiyang had already closed her eyes. She did not dare look at all of this. She had to stop all of this, but she did not have enough power, and could only rely on this extremely stupid method. But what made people excited was, Su Qing'er stopped. Just as her ribbon was about to touch Shangguan Meiyang, it stopped abruptly. A terrifying baleful aura swayed down from the ribbon, blowing all over her body, but it did not touch her at all. At the last moment it stopped. Shangguan Meiyang closed her eyes tightly, but after waiting for a long time, she still could not feel the terrifying qi. A trace of doubt surfaced in her heart, and she finally mustered the courage to open her eyes, but the moment she opened her eyes, what she saw was Qing'er's extremely pale face. "Master! Hurry! Let's go!" An extremely weak voice came out from her dry cherry lips. Xian'er, the power of the moon god on her body quickly dissipated, the colorful silk broke, turning into sand, and the colorful clothes on her body also dissipated. She returned to her original state, and like a kite with its string cut, she fell from the sky and fainted. "Qing'er!" Shangguan Meiyang shouted at the top of her lungs. Ignoring her own injuries, she rushed over with all her might and hugged Su Qing'er tightly, and the two girls fell down together. Sun Xiangyan naturally would not sit still. She immediately activated the profound qi, dragged the two of them, and slowly put them down. At least they were safe. "Junior sister, are you all right?" Sun Xiangyan shouted nervously. "I'm fine. Senior sister." Shangguan Meiyang slowly opened her eyes, looking at Su Qing'er who was in her embrace. A trace of worry flashed past her eyes. "It's just that Qing'er." Although Qing'er's consciousness was submerged by the energy, she did not hurt me at the last moment. It can be seen that she was not completely devoured by the energy. According to common sense, this is impossible. His consciousness has been submerged, and he has almost lost all ability to think. His body will only be controlled by this energy until it retreats. Just now, Qing'er's energy was still strong and abundant, so for a while, it definitely won't be like this. Sun Xiangyan revealed a surprised expression. "Senior sister, now is not the time to talk about this. We have to leave quickly," Shangguan Meiyang said weakly. Empress Dowager Lu is definitely not an ordinary person. Although she is not a match for Qing'er, that does not mean that Qing'er is invincible. Once Empress Dowager Lu invites an expert to subdue Qing'er, Qing'er's situation will be dangerous. You're right. Furthermore, Qing'er also needs time to rest and recuperate. She is currently unconscious, and I guess that at the most critical moment, her spirit released its potential power, and temporarily forced back the energies devouring, but she did not protect her own consciousness, and instead forced herself to fall into a deep sleep. If she wakes up, I'm afraid she will still be like that, and if the energy does not dissipate, she will never be able to return to Su Qing'er's appearance. Junior sister, the situation here is complicated. You and I should return to the Immortal Palace and look for Master first. All right. Shangguan Meiyang nodded her head. She wanted to help Qing'er up, but she did not have the strength. Fortunately, Sun Xiangyan had a lot of tricks up her sleeves. She took out an unknown magic treasure and threw it towards Su Qing'er. It was a sparkling and translucent veil that was extremely beautiful. It fluttered over and wrapped around Qing'er, causing her body to immediately become as light as a veil. Sun Xiangyan immediately grabbed onto Qing'er and quickly left the place with Shangguan Meiyang. Due to the chaos that Su Qing'er had caused, most of the people in the palace had evacuated. Regardless of whether it was the palace maids or the guards, there were not many left. Shangguan Meiyang's body was still very weak, and the situation was not looking good. Sun Xiangyan's condition was not good either, adding that they had to escape with Su Qing'er. The two of them were not fast. Senior sister, this time, I've let you down. If I didn't bring Qing'er here, you wouldn't have. Junior sister, don't blame yourself. Things have developed to this point, and it is already beyond our expectations, much less our control. If we can save Qing'er, we can still prevent this situation from worsening, so, don't blame yourself too much now. What we can do is try our best to make up for it. Sun Xiangyan said in a low voice. Hearing that, Shangguan Meiyang nodded. In fact, she could see the pain in her senior sister's heart. Sun Gonghu had been killed by Qing'er, and Empress Dowager Lu had been threatened with her life by Qing'er. The current Su Qing'er had long since become the enemy of the kingdom of Ziyu, and Sun Xiangyan had probably been implicated as well. However, Sun Xiangyan did not say anything, and still chose to help Shangguan Meiyang and Su Qing'er. The two of them brought Su Qing'er and ran for a while. Sun Xiangyan asked, Junior sister, can you contact Master? I can't. Shangguan Meiyang shook her head. My order badge has already been confiscated. If I could contact my mother, I would have informed her in prison. Since that's the case, let's go outside the Immortal Island and head towards the Realm Gate. Maybe we can meet Master. It's too dangerous to stay on the Immortal Island. If I'm not wrong, the reinforcements that the Empress Dowager has summoned will start chasing after Qing'er. Let's quickly evacuate. In the dim ancient tomb, a figure was shuttling through the ice-cold and terrifying statue. This figure flickered between light and darkness, appearing and disappearing like a ghost. This was Su Yun under the fleeting shadow art. The fleeting shadow art was not a simple invisibility technique, it was a combination of invisibility and illusion technique. Its true strength lay in changing for the sake of change, from concealment to concealment, not only deceiving people's eyes, but in a greater sense, deceiving people's thoughts and souls. A simple invisibility technique was to communicate with the surrounding scenery to achieve the goal of concealing one's body. The essence of the fleeting shadow art was to deceive the thoughts and consciousness of all the existences in the surroundings, assimilating with their consciousness and completely erasing their own existence in their hearts. In other words, when a person was successfully blinded by the fleeting shadow art, there was already a problem with his consciousness. He would not even know that there was a person called Su Yun in this world, nor would he know who he was fighting against. Their chaotic thoughts caused them to be confused and hesitant, and at this moment it was the moment of weakness. And the most terrifying thing was that the fleeting shadow art ignored one's cultivation level. In other words, even a person who had reached the peak of perfection would not be able to escape from the fleeting shadow art. Of course, the conditions for activating the fleeting shadow art were extremely harsh, and required continuous cultivation and practice. However, Su Yun, who had mastered the Limitless sword art, Divine Wind sword technique, Yin-Yang manifestation art and fleeting shadow art, was more than enough to deal with the tests of the great demons. With the protection of the Imperial battle robe, the tests set by the great demons could no longer stop him. As time passed, the statues of the great demons rotted one by one. Not only had his cultivation increased explosively, his strength had increased explosively, his speed had increased explosively, his profound qi had increased explosively, and even his lifespan had increased to an extremely terrifying level. The current him was only a step away from the Spirit Sage, and any situation would allow him to break through in advance. With the support of the Imperial battle robe, the Dragon Abyss Pearl and the Supreme Sect Lord's power, His cultivation speed had increased by 1,000 miles. Now that he had obtained the inheritance of the 100 devils, he was like a dragon that had entered the sea and an eagle that had soared into the sky. He no longer knew how many great demon statues he had challenged, but he saw that the statues on the ground were getting fewer and fewer, and he had obtained more and more things. He directly swallowed the pills into his stomach, and he no longer had any scruples. The feeling of his strength increasing explosively was simply intoxicating. There were not many great demons left. Su Yun took a deep breath. His gaze swept around, after obtaining the benefits of these great demons. Stepping into the spirit sage level should not be a problem. Time was tight here. The large amount of pills he had swallowed previously had not been completely digested. Once he left the ancient tomb, he would immediately go into closed-door cultivation. His cultivation would probably increase by a large amount. Just then, Su Yun's gaze suddenly swept past something. He anxiously looked over, only to see that not far away from the empty space, there was a dark red passageway. The passageway was emitting a strong energy aura. Upon closer inspection, it seemed to be a place with an energy array. Seeing that, Su Yun was ecstatic, and immediately walked over. When he got close, he raised his hand, released a bit of profound qi, and offered it to the blood-red road. The profound qi flew out, and the blood-red road immediately shot out a large amount of red light. The surging energy was like the winter sun, wrapping around Su Yun warmly. What an abundance of energy, this path! Who did it? He crouched down and caressed the bright red road, only to discover that there was a long square formation engraved at the bottom of the road, a square array formation. How proficient did one have to be in array formations to be able to set it up? Array formations were mostly circular, and square arrays were not conducive to the flow of energy. They would also have some obstructions to the array formation itself, and would not be able to unleash its full power. Why would they set up such a formation? Su Yun thought for a moment, then gathered his courage and walked onto the blood-red path. The facts proved that his guess was not wrong. The long path was filled with energy, profound qi was abundant, it was definitely a good place to cultivate. He scanned his surroundings and quickly sat down cross-legged to meditate and cultivate. The moment he sat down, the red light of the great Tao immediately erupted. As though it had been activated, all of the energy was released, and all of it was absorbed by Su Yun. He was like a black hole, starting to absorb everything in the blessed land. This kind of energy was unbelievably pure, as if it was the essence that someone had deliberately left behind. Too wonderful! Gradually, a circle of white light suddenly erupted from his body. His hair, eyebrows, and eyes all released a golden light, and a small sun and a small moon suddenly appeared above his head. When the small sun and moon appeared, they immediately circled around his head, and an endless mysterious power rippled back and forth. Promotion. Spirit Sage. Chapter 873. This energy was very majestic, and it was an extremely pure devil qi. It seemed to be consciously drilling into Su Yun's body, as though it was specially prepared for the people who came here to cultivate. All of the meridians in Su Yun's body were opened up by this top-quality devil qi. This kind of pleasure was unprecedented, and the speed at which his cultivation was increasing was extremely clear. However, what was even clearer than this was the blood-red ground beneath him. Following the advancement to Spirit Sage, all aspects of his abilities increased once again, especially the profound qi. At this moment, the spirit core was completely golden in color. Not only was it able to produce an even denser profound qi than before, the hardness of the spirit core had also exceeded Su Yun's imagination. The qi meridian expanded by a circle, the spirit core frantically produced profound qi, and in the blink of an eye, the amount of profound qi in Su Yun's body had increased by 100 times. The difference in strength between the Spirit Emperor and the Spirit Sage was already very clear from the storage of the profound chi. The sun and moon were like wheels revolving around him. The universe seemed to be formed above his head, and all the phenomena of nature revolved around him. This was a step from a mortal to a saint. It was a step beyond the ordinary. It was the most basic step to touch the unreachable immortal God. At this moment, Su Yun felt that his eyes and heart were about to open up. Previously, when he looked at the world, it was as if he was looking through a crack, but now, he had jumped out of the crack and was looking down at everything from the ninth heaven. What kind of realm was this? What kind of feeling was this? After about 8 hours, the sun and moon gradually sank into the top of his head, as if they had fused with him. The white light around his body exploded out, and he flew into the distance and disappeared. He slowly opened his eyes. With this closing and opening, it was as if 100 lifetimes had passed, and 10,000 years had flown by. He raised his hand and clenched it. His fingers moved slightly, but there was an aura that could shake the earth and mountains. This was a change. Su Yun took a deep breath and looked around. The realm of the Spirit Sage was not something he could easily comprehend. This kind of change was bestowed by the power of heaven and earth, just like the normal growth of a person. In the process of growth, there were still many things to learn, and it was impossible for a newly advanced Spirit Sage to defeat a Spirit Sage who knew his own strength like the back of his hand. Taking down the nameplate of the ultimate martial world, it showed that he was already in the Spirit Sage realm. His fighting strength had actually increased by a few 100,000, and his current fighting strength was 590,000, and his ranking had increased even more crazily, entering into the top 500,000. Wait a minute, within 500,000? Could it be that there were still more than 500,000 Spirit Sage existences in the 10,000 realms? Su Yun frowned. What kind of fortuitous encounter was needed to step into this realm? How could there be so many people in the universe? But was this famous brand's statistics accurate? What is its statistical category? It was only based on the myriad heavens and realms, right? The immortal God world probably didn't count them, right? The immortal was probably not just at the Spirit Sage realm. At this moment, the ground was already gray and black. All the energy inside had been absorbed by Su Yun, like an incense stick that had burned out. Gradually, the pure energy became thin. Su Yun opened his eyes and looked forward, only to see that the second half of the road was still very bright. He immediately stood up and walked over. However, just as he stepped onto the second half of the blood-red road, a bone-chilling cold suddenly rose up, instantly pervading Su Yun's entire body. He could not help but shiver, feeling that there was something in front of him. He immediately pulled out the death sword, and stared forward with a burning gaze. Demonic chi? Blood chi? It was as if there were two strange auras mixed together and were drifting in this direction. Ka-cha. At the same time, a weak sound floated up, sounding especially ear-piercing in this quiet and empty place. Su Yun's nerves tensed up. "Who?" he shouted in a low voice. However, there was no reply from the pitch-black place. There was only the sound of ka-cha ka-cha. It sounded like footsteps, but it was extremely dull. This voice? Su Yun suddenly had a flash of light in his mind, as if he had guessed something. He immediately looked back, only to see that there were only a few statues left. He was currently at the back of the empty space. Previously, the statues had all warned him not to provoke the statue at the back. Could it be that this voice? Ka-cha. At this time, the strange sound had stopped. Su Yun looked over, and saw that at the end of the long blood-red path, there was a completely gray statue. The statue was not wearing any armor, nor did it carry any magic treasure. Everything about it was a stone sculpture sword, stone sculpture clothes, stone sculpture flesh and bones, stone sculpture 4 limbs and head. Stone sculpture? The great demonic statue? This guy's body was even cleaner than Su Yun's face. What benefits could he get from defeating such a guy? It looked at Su Yun quietly, its eyes blood-red. Its face was exceptionally handsome and heroic. Its long stone hair was scattered on its shoulders. Although it was just a stone sculpture, one could imagine that the original owner should be a very suave and handsome devil cultivator. However, what made Su Yun's heart jump was that the other statues could not move. So why did this statue walk over by itself? Was it a living person? The other statues were all standing still, but it was actually able to walk in front of Su Yun. Are you ready? The statue raised the stone sword in its hand and pointed the tip of the sword at the ground. Its entire body emitted a baleful aura. Senior you, in 10 breaths of time I will attack. You have 2 choices. One is to escape and the other is to die. Get ready. The stone statue spoke again. However, when these words came out, Su Yun was extremely shocked. Escape? Die? What did that mean? Could it be that if he didn't escape, he would die? How the F***ck could this be? Previously, the great devil had shown mercy, but from this guy's tone, why did it seem like he wanted to kill him? 5 breaths. At this moment, the stone sculpture made another sound. He didn't give her any time to think. Without any time to think, Su Yun held onto the death sword tightly and activated the profound qi. The surging energy gathered on the imperial battle robe on his body. 4 breaths. The stone sculpture continued to speak, its eyes flashing with a terrifying red light. 3 breaths. Su Yun's eyes became cold. 2 breaths. Crash. A large amount of black gas suddenly appeared in front of the stone sculpture. The black gas quickly condensed into the shape of a person and quickly approached the stone sculpture. The stone sculpture opened its arms, and the man formed from the black gas also opened his arms. The stone sculpture and the black gas overlapped each other. In the blink of an eye, Su Yun felt a burst of surging aura rushing towards him. The black gas overlapped with the stone sculpture, and a large amount of black smoke appeared around the stone sculpture. On its back, a terrifying and gigantic black wing extended out. The wings were like the wings of a bat. The 10 pitch-black scythe-like demon bone structures were covered in a thin film of devil qi. It was extremely terrifying. 1 breath. The stone sculpture seemed to have completed its preparations. Its gaze was fixed on Su Yun, and it released a deep voice that sounded like an accent. In an instant, a gigantic black curtain appeared around his body. The curtain was square and extremely huge, directly enveloping Su Yun and him. When the curtain appeared, Su Yun realized that he and the stone sculpture were in a strange world. The world was pitch black, with nothing else. The black ground, the black sky, and the ancient tomb could no longer be seen, nor could any other statues be seen. Clang! An ear-piercing sound rang in his ears. Following that, he saw the stone sculpture rushing over, its wings flapping. Its speed was so fast that no one could react. When Su Yun regained his senses, the stone sword had already fiercely smashed into his chest. Dong! Su Yun flew out. This speed was so fast that it made one's hair stand on end. Dong! Su Yun flew back nearly 1,000 meters and crashed into the curtain at the edge. He coughed twice and immediately stood up. The divine power of the Imperial Battle Robe had already been activated. If not for the Imperial Battle Robe, Su Yun's chest would have been blasted open with a huge hole. Whiz! Just as he was thinking, a strong gust of wind blew past his ears again. Killing intent filled the air, and that existence actually rushed over again. Su Yun's nerves tensed up. He pushed his speed to the limit, turned back, and like a phantom, he quickly dodged. At the same time, with a flip of his left hand, the yin-yang manifestation art was activated, and his mind rippled out in all directions. Unexpectedly, the stone sculpture suddenly swung its arm, pointing the sword at the ground. It fiercely swung the sky and roared, "5 devils illusory sky!" Boom! A loud sound exploded in Su Yun's mind. His body involuntarily trembled twice. He staggered a few steps back, and felt a burst of dizziness. The mental ripple that was sweeping over was directly broken. What? The yin-yang manifestation art was actually broken by him? Su Yun's eyes were wide open. He could not believe what he was seeing. This sharp intent was so strong that it made one's hair stand on end, as if the air was filled with sword blades. 10 demons god slaughter. The stone sculpture leaped high into the air. Holding onto its sword with both hands, it slashed down towards Su Yun. When the stone sculpture was about to land on the ground, 10 gigantic illusions of the demon gods suddenly appeared behind it. Each of these illusions of the demon gods was 10,000 meters tall, like pillars that supported the sky. Each of the illusions of the demon gods extended their hands, using their hands as swords, and attacked Su Yun. The 10 demon gods attacked at the same time. This move could destroy the heavens and the earth. Compared to this stone sculpture, the great demonic statues from before were simply child's play. Su Yun's eyes were incomparably cold. His expression had also become unprecedentedly focused. He stared straight at the falling 10-handed sword. As well as the stone sculpture's sword, he took a step forward, holding onto the death sword with one hand. He flew straight towards the sky. Holy Spirit Shield. A furious roar erupted from his mouth. Clang. Divine power erupted, and with him as the center, a 7-colored divine shield appeared. Dong. The demon god sword and the stone sculpture's sword slashed onto the death sword's body at the same time. A surging heaven-defying power followed the death sword and spread throughout Su Yun's body, then spread to the ground. The black world created by the stone sculpture started to tremble crazily. Sand and stones flew in all directions, as if it was the end of the world. The strength of the two of them was astonishing. If this battle was in the ancient tomb, this strike would have turned the ancient tomb into dust. Chapter 874. The stone sword and the death sword were in a stalemate. The other party's strength was so terrifying that it almost wanted to break Su Yun and cut him in half. However, Su Yun would not give him the chance. With a wave of his left hand, the black blade appeared in his palm like a magic trick. His left arm swayed slightly 12 times, and his strength was instantly raised. Then, like a gust of wind, it smashed towards the stone statue's shoulder. Dong. The stone statue's power was all concentrated on the stone sword. It did not expect Su Yun to still have the strength to launch this attack. The black blade slashed onto his shoulder, and the stone statue immediately flew out, falling not far away. Su Yun loosened his sword, held onto the blade and sword, and pressed forward again. In fact, when he blocked the sword just now, he did not use Su Yun's own strength, but the power of the Holy Spirit Shield. The Holy Spirit Shield could reflect everything, and when the stone statue smashed down, the power had already been reflected back. However, what surprised Su Yun was that the stone statue had actually used brute force to forcefully cancel out the power that was reflected from Su Yun's body. From this alone, one could tell that the stone statue's strength was simply heaven-defying. It was likely that it could split mountains and split seas with its bare hand. Strong strength meant that the body was strong. This kind of person would usually be very weak in terms of spirit, but why was he able to break through the yin-yang manifestation art so easily? Su Yun held onto his blade and sword, the black blade pressing down on the death sword's body. He channeled all of his strength and slashed at the same time. However, boom! The black blade smashed the death sword onto the ground. It had missed. Su Yun's face tensed up. He suddenly turned around, only to see that the stone statue had unknowingly appeared behind him. This speed. It was so much faster than him. Su Yun's face darkened. Dong. The stone statue raised its foot and kicked him in the chest again. The surging force caused the air to ripple as it flew out. He somersaulted in the air, his blade and sword piercing into the ground. He was dragged backwards, his blade and sword dragging out 2 long ravines. It was too fast. Furthermore, his strength was astonishing. Adding on his extraordinary strength, how could he defeat such an existence? There was almost no place where he was weak. His spirit, body, and willpower could all be said to be at the peak. Was this stone statue just a wisp of the great demon's consciousness? If that was the case, then what kind of strength did the great demon have? I'm afraid he can be compared to Chang-gu and Enemo back then, right? The stone statue raised the sword in its hand, its blood-red eyes filled with killing intent that could not be dispersed. It stared straight at Su-yun, and its body emitted waves of soul-shaking sounds, buzz buzz buzz. Su-yun's head was buzzing in pain. In my name, I summon thy body. At this time, the stone statue gave a low roar, and a black chain appeared on the stone sword in his hand. One end of the chain wrapped around the sword, and the other end was connected to the earth. He suddenly swung the stone sword. Crash! The iron chain was pulled, and the ground was directly torn apart by the iron chain. Then, it started to shake and the crack expanded. A large amount of sand and stones fell, and soon, a terrifying abyss was pulled out. The iron chain was like a fishing line hanging in the abyss, and no one knew where it was connected to. Woo! At this moment, a sorrowful whimper emerged from the abyss. Did I summon something? Su-yun leaped backwards and raised his arms, causing a few bolts of lightning to descend around him. Dong! 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 All of the devil bone giants were summoned, and they stood behind him. At this time, 2 huge pitch-black hands reached out from the abyss. These 2 hands were emitting surging devil flames, and they were extremely terrifying. They supported the ground on both sides, and then exerted force, forcefully opening the abyss. Then, a horrifying head popped out from inside. At this time, there was an existence with horns on its head and 4 lantern-sized blood-red eyes. Its body was covered in black flesh, and its head was covered in white fur. Its body was like a star, but it was filled with a terrifying devil chi and power aura. Its entire being was like a demon god from hell. As soon as it stepped out of the abyss and onto the ground, it was mighty and domineering, giving off an invincible feeling. Especially the aura it emitted, it made people tremble, and they didn't dare to have any thoughts of resisting. At this moment, the other end of the chain on the sword in the stone statue's hand was tied to its nose, like a horse's rope. The stone sculpture leaped up and landed on top of the demon god's head. It waved its sword a few times, and the iron chain swayed. The demon god moved, releasing a deafening roar, and walked towards Su-yun step by step. The size of the demon god was almost the same as the devil bone giant. Su-yun did not hold back, he waved his hand, and the devil bone giant rushed forward. His profound chi controlled the devil bone giant, and the giants split into 2 groups. One group rushed towards the demon god, intending to restrain it, while the other group went to find the stone sculpture. However, when the devil bone giant approached, the demon god was the first to move. It twisted its body, raised its fist, and suddenly swung it forward. Its thick arm, which didn't seem to be too long, actually flew forward like a rubber band, directly smashing into the body of the devil bone giant at the front. Dong! The giant flew out like a ball, smashing into the giant behind it. The 2 giants rolled into a ball, looking extremely miserable. The profound chi in Su-yun's body trembled, but he was not frightened by this, and ordered the other 2 giants that were close to the demon god to pounce forward. Dong! Another demon god was sent flying, but the demon god at the side had an opportunity. Its mountainous fist fiercely smashed towards the demon god's head. Clang! The fist landed on the ground and was stopped by the stone sculpture above his head. Although the giant stone sculpture looked like an ant, the strength of the stone sculpture was not inferior to the giant in the slightest. However, when the stone sculpture resisted, the power to control the demon god was reduced by a bit. The remaining devil bone giant swarmed forward, and their huge fists rained down on the demon god. The stone sculpture and the demon god were immediately submerged by the giant's iron fist. The surging power was like a shocking wave that drowned them. From the looks of it, Su Yun seemed to have the upper hand, but he understood that the stone sculpture was not that simple. It was impossible for the devil bone giant to do anything to them, so he had to first exhaust the stone sculpture's profound chi, and then think of a way to break it in one fell swoop. However, the demon god, who was being crazily attacked by the devil bone giant, seemed to be angry. It suddenly roared, and with its body as the center, a circle of terrifying blood-red ripples burst out. These ripples fiercely rippled, directly sending the surrounding devil bone giant flying. Su Yun was stunned, the profound chi in his body trembled non-stop. Raising his head to look at the demon god, he saw that the muscles on its body had swollen up, and its skin had turned from black to blood-red. A large number of blood vessels and tendons had burst out, and the white hair on its head had exploded. Panting heavily, it roared and rushed towards Su Yun. The ground was crushed by it, and the air was shaken by it. With an unstoppable and invincible aura, it rushed towards Su Yun in a daze. The devil bone giant immediately stood up, wanting to block. But at this moment the demon god was like a tank. Any giant that approached would be knocked away by it, and any profound technique that struck its body would not be able to leave any scars. At this moment, it was an invincible existence. The stone sculpture held onto its sword, its blood-red eyes staring straight at Su Yun. Although this was an ancient tomb, and this was merely a trial for the juniors by the seniors of the true devil sect, in the eyes of the stone sculpture, this was not a trial, but a life-and-death battle. It did not show any mercy, nor would it show any mercy. In this battle, someone had to die in order to determine the victor. Otherwise, it would definitely not stop. This was the Tao of the stone sculpture, and it was also the Tao that it wanted to teach Su Yun. At this moment, Su Yun finally understood this logic. In the heart of the stone sculpture, true victory was built on corpses. He didn't want to be that cold corpse. Since he didn't want to, he should take action. He should be like him, fighting to the death, giving up everything, and fighting with everything he had. He stared coldly at the demon god that was rushing over. He did not move an inch, and his expression became extremely sinister. The profound chi in his body was like a storm as it burst out in all directions. He did not put up any defenses, nor did he dodge. Could it be that he was going to give up? How? Right at this moment, an even more melodious and vast roar suddenly came from above Su Yun. The stone sculpture raised its head to look. Before it could react, it saw an incomparably huge hand stretch down from the pitch-black sky, directly blocking in front of the demon god. Dong! When the demon god collided with the big hand exerted force, and it also exerted force. When the two forces clashed, it directly created a large amount of ripples that blew in all directions, causing the surrounding sand and stones to turn into ashes. The profound chi that was floating in the air was shaken to the point that it was undulating, and the stone sculpture on top of the demon god's head retreated a few steps, while Su Yun also staggered, finding it difficult to stand firmly. The demon god forcefully pushed the great god forward for an entire 1,000 meters. The 5 fingers of the great god's hand were inserted into the soil, dragging out 5 ravines. The great god's hand was trembling incessantly, and it was obvious that it had used up all its strength. In the end, the great god's hand still stopped less than a meter in front of Su Yun. The demon god had also finally used up all its strength and stopped. Only then did the stone sculpture stabilize its body and look up into the sky. Only then did it realize that the devil bone giant S had already disappeared, and in their place was an even larger and more terrifying existence. Devil bone spirit. Compared to the devil bone spirit, the demon god's body was like a cat or dog. Bada. The devil bone spirit grabbed the demon god's body and lifted it up. Then, it fiercely slammed it onto the ground. Dong! The ground shattered, and the demon god was smashed into the ground. It was a complete suppression of size. Roar! The demon god was enraged once again, and the white hair on its head exploded even higher. It forcefully pried open the devil bone spirit's fingers, stepped on its huge arm, and rushed towards its head. When it got close to its head, it reached out and grabbed its neck, twisting it crazily, intending to remove its head. However, the devil bone spirit was not the devil bone giant. Its strength was even more terrifying, and its aura was even more astonishing. It stretched out its hand, grabbed the demon god, and threw it far away. Whiz! The demon god flew into the distance like a kite with its string cut. Seeing that, Su-yun leaped up and landed on top of the devil bone spirit's head, then urged the spirit to quickly rush towards the demon god and the stone sculpture. Chapter 875. The terrifying and huge iron fist was like a meteorite falling from the sky, rubbing against the air as it fiercely descended. When the fist landed, it even emitted a red light, ignited with flames, and dragged out a long tail. Dong! The intense sound could shatter a person's eardrums. The fist smashed into the body of the demon god, smashing its body into the pitch-black ground. The force shattered the ground around it. The ground was cut down again and again, sinking continuously. Roar! The demon god was enraged and let out an earth-shattering roar. It stretched out its hands and grabbed the incomparably huge fist. It did its best to support itself and push the fist forward. Its strength was not weak, and the devil bone spirit's huge and thick arms were in a stalemate. However, at this moment, the stone sculpture on the demon god's body seemed to have lost its patience. Its blood-red eyes stared at Su-yun, and suddenly raised the stone sword in its hand and pulled it towards the air. Crash! The chains on the stone sword tore off the demon god's nose, and then the demon god's sturdy body instantly turned into ashes, disappearing without a trace. It turned out that the chains were the connection between the stone sculpture and the demon god. Without the chains, the power of the stone sculpture could not be transmitted to the demon god. The devil bone spirit lost its resistance, and the big fist followed the momentum, crashing into the stone sculpture. However, the stone sculpture did not panic at all. It raised its hand and turned it into a palm to block the big fist. Dong! The fist trembled. The stone sculpture forcefully withstood the attack with brute force. However, this was not the end. He moved his arm and actually grabbed the devil bone giant's hand. With a sudden shake, he lifted the huge giant up and threw it into the distance. This scene truly shocked Su-yun. How was this possible? To be able to lift the devil bone spirit and throw it out? Even the seemingly terrifying demon god could not do anything to the devil bone spirit. How could it do it? What cultivation level was it at? The stone sculpture shook off the devil bone spirit and once again cast his spell. He raised the stone sword high up, the tip of the sword pointing towards the sky, and shouted a series of awkward demonic words. A large amount of red lightning flashed in the pitch-black sky like poisonous snakes, moving about in the black sky. Blood prison, heavenly prison! The stone sculpture roared and pointed its stone sword at the giant. The red lightning swept over, densely packed like raindrops, falling down, instantly enveloping Su-yun and the devil bone spirit. When the lightning approached Su-yun, it immediately turned into gray smoke and disappeared, but when it approached the devil bone spirit, it was not spared. It was too huge, and there was almost no time to dodge. Dong! 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 A series of loud noises rang out. It was as if the devil bone spirit was entangled by many wild snakes, and its body immediately turned bright red. However, when the red lightning struck its body, it did not leave many scars on its body. Instead, it scattered all the profound chi around its body. Seeing that, Su-yun's face became gloomy. Regardless of whether it was Su Yun's physical body or the devil bone spirit's body, it was actually very difficult to destroy. He believed that the other party had also noticed this point. However, although Su Yun was not attacked by the lightning, the devil bone spirit could not avoid it. If Su Yun wanted to control the devil bone spirit, he had to continuously transport the profound qi as a source of energy. Now that the devil bone spirit was being crazily attacked by the opponent, in the end, it was still Su Yun's profound qi that was being dispersed. In the blink of an eye, the profound qi around the devil bone spirit disappeared. Its huge body also lost its kinetic energy and stood there motionless. Facing such an opponent, the devil bone spirit left behind by Changgu and Enimo could not help him very well, so he had no choice but to put it away. The puppets and summoned creatures of both sides had been withdrawn, and the stone sculpture descended from the sky. Holding the stone sword, it walked towards Su Yun step by step. At this point there was no way out. He could only face it head-on. Su Yun's face was sinister as he walked forward step by step. Both of their eyes were blood-red, and their killing intent was dense. The stone sculpture was different from the great demonic statue from before. Once the battle began, it did not make a sound. It only cared about killing and killing the opponent. Approaching Su Yun, it raised the stone sword high up in the air, and a low roar came out from its mouth. "Come, Moon Demon Slash!" The stone sword shot out a ray of black light and flew into the sky. A huge crescent moon immediately appeared in the sky. The crescent moon flashed a few times, and then it fell down, smashing towards Su Yun. However, Su Yun did not even look at it. He took a few steps forward and fiercely waved the death sword at the stone sculpture. Devil wind break, roar. 1,000 demonic tigers charged forward. However, the stone sculpture did not move. The huge crescent moon approached Su Yun, then turned into smoke and disappeared. 1,000 leopards smashed onto the stone sculpture's body, but they were unable to inflict any injuries on him. In a battle of this level, if neither side's attacks could destroy the other's defense, it would become a stalemate. Although Su Yun seemed to be able to match up to his opponent, he knew in his heart that the stone sculpture's cultivation was far above his own, and the amount of profound qi was also much greater than his own. If he continued to be in a stalemate, it would be extremely disadvantageous for him. He had to finish the battle quickly, or else this small advantage would be gone. He took a deep breath and continued to rush towards the stone sculpture. There was only one way to get rid of this stalemate. That was to get close to the stone sculpture. As Su Yun rushed over, the stone sculpture also reacted. He thrusted his sword towards the ground, causing a large amount of blood to gush out from the sword, forming a river around him. 7 ultimate devil kill. The stone sculpture shouted again. The blood river instantly dried up, transforming into 7 blood-red devil cultivators, all of them holding blood swords. Like afterimages, they rushed towards Su Yun from 7 directions. Su Yun casually waved his hand, and a large number of flying swords shot out from the sword sheath, sweeping towards the 7 devil cultivators, while he himself continued to smash into the stone sculpture, moving forward without changing his direction. Seeing that the opponent was being overbearing, the stone sculpture did not escape anymore. He turned around, and the stone sword spun, releasing a terrifying devil qi to meet Su Yun. In the process of waving the stone sword, it was as if a flower had blossomed. The pitch-black profound qi turned into several slender iron chains, all of them opened up, waiting for Su Yun to pounce on them. So as Su Yun approached, the iron chains immediately bound him. The stone sculpture's eyes released a blood light, and immediately exploded. Holding onto the blood sword, he slashed towards Su Yun's head. This was no longer a test, this was a life and death battle. Su Yun used the divine power of the imperial battle robe, wanting to purify the iron chain, but to no avail. The iron chain was not something formed from the profound qi, but a real thing. It was a magic treasure, and the divine power could not purify the magic treasure. The outcome was about to be revealed. Then, in that moment of life and death, suddenly, a cold light shot out from Su Yun's fingertip. It passed through the stone sculpture and exploded above it. Before the stone sculpture's sharp sword could slash down, its body was suddenly grabbed by a huge eagle claw. Demon Spirit Hawk. The stone sculpture was grabbed by the demon eagle and immediately turned around to slash at the divine eagle's leg. The demonic shadow's body, which was incomparably hard to Su Yun, was cut apart like paper. The demon Spirit Hawk's cultivation was strong and incomparable. Back then, when Su Yun fought with it, it had only used the strength of the Spirit Sage. It was an existence that surpassed the Spirit Sage, but it had just changed owners, and the meridian connection between its cultivation and strength had been reset. It needed time to slowly recover, and in less than 3 years, it would definitely be able to recover to its peak. However, the sudden appearance of the demon Spirit Hawk had created an extremely good condition for Su Yun. He leaped up and rushed towards the stone sculpture. This time, he did not use his sword to kill the stone sculpture. Instead, he directly extended his hand and grabbed towards the stone sculpture. So the stone sculpture's eyes were filled with killing intent. Its body actually twisted forcefully, breaking the eagle's claws. Holding onto the stone sword, it slashed towards Su Yun without a care for anything else. The demon eagle cried out and immediately flew away. But at this time, Su Yun was no longer defending. He forcefully withstood the stone sculpture's attack, and suddenly grabbed his neck with one hand. The stone sword fiercely slashed onto his body, the terrifying power almost shattering his internal organs, but Su Yun did not care at all. He roused his strength, and forcefully pressed the stone sculpture down from the sky. Dong! The two figures landed on the ground, causing the ground to shake violently. Just as the stone sculpture was about to continue raising its sword, it saw Su Yun stabbing the death sword onto the hilt of the stone sword, the sword tip piercing into the soil. Following that, the divine power of the imperial battle robe was activated. Like a demon's mouth, it swallowed the stone sculpture. Voila! In the blink of an eye, the power of the stone statue weakened. But he still did not give up. Using all his strength, the stone sword was slowly lifted up. The death sword was rather strenuous. The pitch-black sword body also started to tremble. Ah! The stone statue let out a heaven-shaking roar. The power in his body poured out crazily, as if in the next second, he was going to break free from Su Yun's suppression. This was the first time he had met such an opponent, to be able to resist the corrosion of the divine power of the imperial battle robe, but at this moment, an evil spirit suddenly emerged from the death sword's blade. The evil spirit let out a mournful cry and fiercely clawed at the stone statue's head. Dong! When the stone sculpture was attacked, its strength relaxed, and the profound chi that it had restrained was immediately uncontrollably devoured by the divine power of the imperial battle robe. In the blink of an eye, not a single trace of profound strength remained in his body. The stone sculpture had lost its profound strength, and only had brute force left. But Su Yun had obtained the incomparably pure profound chi from the stone sculpture, and had already recovered to its original state. However, the stone sculpture was still unwilling to give up. Relying on its brute force, it wanted to stand up again and attack Su Yun. At this time, it had no chance of winning. But why was it so persistent? Suddenly, Su Yun understood. This stone sculpture was fighting with him with the determination to not stop until he died. If he did not completely shatter it, then it would continue to fight until he died. Thinking about it, Su Yun's fanaticism that had just faded surfaced once again. He held on to the death sword and slashed at the stone sculpture without a care for anything else. The death sword carried a destructive power and completely covered it, tearing at its hard body and piercing through its indestructible chest. Kacha! Kacha! Slowly, the stone sculpture cracked open, and cracks covered its entire body. That seemingly ferocious power also gradually cooled down. It was like a machine that had lost its power, spinning slower and slower. Not long after, it was completely broken down by Su Yun. Chapter 876. After breaking down the stone sculpture, Su Yun turned around and laid on the ground, panting with all his might. This battle was many times more tiring than the previous battle with the great demons. If he did not use all of his trump cards, he would undoubtedly lose. But fortunately, the Imperial Battle Robe was a divine object that could help him challenge those of a higher level. If he did not have the Imperial Battle Robe, even if he relied on the fleeting shadow art, he might not be able to take down the stone sculpture. The stone sculpture shattered, and a large amount of black smoke leaked out. The black smoke floated in the air, and finally converged into a ball, forming a human figure in front of the stone sculpture. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately stood up, holding onto his sword. He stared at the black shadow. This seemed to be the black shadow that had fused into the stone sculpture. The black shadow floated there for a while before finally landing on the ground. 2 blood-red slits appeared on his pitch-black head, and he finally opened his eyes. The empty but terrifying red eyes were like 2 wells filled with blood, as if they wanted to drag Su Yun into it and seal him forever. "Young Demon Lord!" A voice came from the black shadow. "Who are you?" Su Yun bellowed. "Whoever this statue is, I am," the black shadow said indifferently. Hearing that, Su Yun immediately understood the identity of the black shadow. The black shadow continued, "Young Demon Lord, I acknowledge your strength. To be able to defeat me without being injured in the slightest, maybe you can take an attack from my original body. As a promise, I will pass on the Devil Soul to you. With the Devil Soul, I hope that you can bring glory to the true Devil sect, uphold the thoughts in your heart, and not walk the path of fate." As the black shadow spoke, his body was suddenly covered in blood, as if a fishing net had enveloped his body. After a while, the fishing net suddenly split open, and an even smaller black shadow appeared. Seeing the black shadow appear, it immediately stared at Su Yun and rushed over. Its speed was extremely fast, and in the blink of an eye, it crashed into Su Yun's body and disappeared. Su Yun was shocked. He immediately touched left and right, but he could no longer feel the existence of the black shadow. He anxiously looked inside his body, but was surprised to find that there was an additional round black ball in his body. This black ball was located at the lower right side of his heart, sticking to his internal organs and jumping gently. Although he had given birth to this thing, Su Yun did not feel the slightest bit of discomfort. He quietly took out a bit of Xian Qi and approached the black ball. A strange phenomenon occurred, and the black ball suddenly squirmed a few times. Its surface was a little deformed, as though it was about to be activated. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately stopped. This was probably the Devil Soul. The stone statue dissipated, and the Devil Soul dispersed. This mystical trial could be considered to have officially ended. Su Yun did not know what kind of opportunity he had obtained. Perhaps it was something incredible, especially this Devil Soul. He didn't know how powerful it was. As he pondered, his gaze inadvertently fell on a statue not far away. After pondering for a moment, he walked over. "Yo, young demon lord, I didn't expect you to actually come here." When Su Yun got closer, the statue immediately reacted and spoke. Su Yun realized that these statues were like machines that had already been shut down. Only when someone approached them would they wake up again. Junior greets Senior. "Time is of the essence. Senior, please quickly summon the Shadow Guard and fight with Junior," Su Yun said. He couldn't wait to test the power of the Devil Soul. How powerful was that stone sculpture? Presumably, its owner was an extremely powerful figure, and the things left behind were definitely not simple. The concept of the stone sculpture was different from the other Devil Cultivator statues. It was extremely extreme, just like its strength. "Tsk, are you in such a hurry to leave the ancient tomb?" The statue let out a sneer and said, "Since that's the case, I'll send you off." With that said, a large amount of devil chi leaked out from the statue's body. The devil chi appeared and quickly gathered together, transforming into a pitch-black devil shadow that stood in front of Su Yun. "Demon Lord, you have to be careful. My shadow guard is different from the other shadow guards. You have to use all of your methods in order to win. If you are even the slightest bit careless, it will end in a miserable defeat. Junior will remember this." "Yes," the great demonic statue praised. "Although you are an impatient person, you still know some etiquette. I do hope that you can obtain my inheritance and contribute to the true devil sect, but the rules are like this: you must defeat the Shadow Guard in order to obtain the benefits. If you defeat this Shadow Guard, I will give you the 300 pills that I have meticulously prepared for you. It will depend on whether you have the ability to do so. Alright, let's not waste any more time. Demon Lord, prepare yourself. The Shadow Guard can attack at any time." After the great demonic statue finished speaking, it no longer spoke. The devil chi on the Shadow Guard's body stirred restlessly, its eyes became blood-red, releasing a baleful aura. Seeing that, Su Yun immediately activated the spirit core, activated the profound chi, and directly drilled into the pitch-black devil soul in his body. A strand of profound chi pierced into the devil soul, causing the devil soul to suddenly expand, as though its heart had suddenly jumped. Su Yun opened his eyes. He felt a terrifying energy suddenly shoot out from his body. The energy was shockingly strong, as though it was going to crush his body. A large number of pitch-black veins appeared all over his body. These veins covered his hands and feet, and even extended to his face. His eyes became extremely blood-red, and his entire body was enveloped by a ball of pitch-black demonic fire. From afar, it looked as if he was on fire. "What?" The great demonic statue let out a shocked expression. "Roar." At this moment, the Shadow Guard moved. It growled, and its pitch-black body turned into a black wind, attacking Su Yun. However, before the Shadow Guard could even get close to Su Yun moved. He immediately leapt up, his speed so fast that it was as if he had teleported. His speed had already surpassed the understanding of humans. In an instant, he appeared behind the Shadow Guard. Before the Shadow Guard could even turn around, his head was grabbed by Su Yun, and his entire body was lifted up. Su Yun extended his hand and suddenly extended it, directly piercing through the Shadow Guard's body. Then, he clenched his hand into a fist, and a circle of devil power erupted from his palm, directly tearing the Shadow Guard apart. It only took a few breaths of time. The Shadow Guard didn't even have the chance to resist before it was wiped out. That ruthless power and insufferably domineering aura made it almost unable to retaliate. The great demonic statue did not make another sound. After an unknown period of time, a shocked and sluggish voice came out from within. "This is the power of the devil soul?" the great demonic statue said in a daze. "The power of the devil soul? Is that it?" Su Yun raised his hands, and quietly looked at the devil power that was spiraling in his palms. He had never felt such a pure and unparalleled devil power before. Even Octagon Aniseed could not be compared to it. The Shadow Guard was killed, but the great demonic consciousness in the statue had not reacted yet. After a long while, it asked Su Yun, "Lord Demon Lord, have you already challenged the last statue?" "The last statue?" "It should be." Su Yun was still immersed in the power of the devil soul, and was unable to recover from his shock for a while. Unexpectedly, his answer caused the great demonic consciousness in the statue to exclaim in shock, "Oh my God, you actually have that kind of strength to defeat that great demon, incredible!" Seeing that, Su Yun raised his head and looked at him curiously. "What is it? Who is this great demon? Why do all of you look so afraid of him?" "Young man, you don't know." The great demonic consciousness in the statue said with a very emotional tone, That is not an ordinary great demon, that is a true devil sect that only appears once in 10,000 years. Zhan Kuang? Yes. Zhan Kuang. War madman. The statue said in a low voice, "This is a complete and utter martial arts fanatic, a complete and utter madman. He has pursued martial arts all his life, and has only cultivated his entire life. He has challenged countless tyrants all his life, and none of them have given up until he dies. This kind of guy could be said to be a genius, but he could also be said to be a madman. However, even though he was so stubborn, he was still very considerate of the devil sect. During the Immortal and Devil War back then, he had guarded the Forbidden Demon Road alone, the passage that led to the true devil sect's Devil Palace, preventing 1,000 Immortal World experts from taking even half a step in. Then, he created the conditions for Chang Gu and Nemo to launch a sneak attack. It could be said that he contributed greatly to the devil sect's victory back then. So this person is actually so amazing, Su Yun exclaimed. He is revered as the devil saint by my true devil sect. Since you have obtained the devil soul, it is a heaven-shaking good fortune. With this devil soul, you can easily obtain the rest of the great devil's inheritance. I hope you can cherish it. Su Yun will not disappoint all of you seniors. The devil cultivator is insufferably arrogant. He did it, but we can't. I hope you can do it. As the statue spoke, the interspatial bag on its waist peeled off on its own and fell to the ground. Consume these pills, and then immediately sit down and meditate for 3 days to digest them. Your strength will increase by another level. After saying that, the statue's body began to decay. Hearing that, Su Yun cupped his hands towards the statue, sat down cross-legged, opened the space bag, took out the pills inside, and put them into his mouth one by one. After entering the ancient tomb, Su Yun had to consume countless pills every day. Some were strong, some were weak, and some had different effects. Some could be digested quickly, but some needed time to settle down before they could slowly decompose. But what made Su Yun curious was that when these pills entered his stomach, there would not be any conflict, and his body did not have any abnormalities, which was truly surprising. None of the pills left behind by the great devil were inferior. Some of them could extend one's lifespan, some could strengthen one's soul, and after swallowing this bag of pills, Su Yun's various aspects had obviously improved. But what made him even more astonished was that his body had once again become hot and dry, and a large amount of ferocious devil chi appeared. From the looks of it, it seemed like he was about to break through again. How long had it been since he advanced to Spirit Sage? Why was there a faint sign of a breakthrough? Su Yun frowned, but he did not feel happy at the moment. After all, his current speed of advancement was too fast, and such a fast breakthrough was definitely not a good thing for a spirit cultivator. Forget it, I'll just take it as it comes. Su Yun took a deep breath. His gaze swept across the last few devil cultivator statues. He then stood up and walked over. Chapter 877. Who? Whoosh, his violent breathing was mixed with messy profound energy, which rippled with the wind. In this forest, 2 figures were fleeing in panic. These 2 people were Shangguan Mei Yang and Sun Xiangyan. Sun Xiangyan used her qi to drag the unconscious Su Qinger and sprinted all the way, while Shangguan Mei Yang flew at a low altitude behind them. The 2 of them did not dare to fly too high, nor did they dare to use too much profound qi. If not, the pursuers would be able to lock onto their location based on the profound qi they emitted. Junior sister, I have already sent a message to Master to rush to Fanghua City. Fanghua City is in front of us. As long as we enter the city and wait for a while, Master will definitely arrive. At that time we will be safe. Sun Xiangyan turned her head and said to Shangguan Mei Yang. Shangguan Mei Yang nodded her head with all her might. Her face was still pale white. Her injuries had worsened along with her escape. Sun Xiangyan really wanted her junior sister to stop and rest, but she knew that once she stopped, the consequences would be unimaginable. Empress Dowager Lu had probably already invited the supreme expert to come and subdue Qing'er. If those people caught up to him, Qing'er would be captured, and the matter of her divine body would definitely be exposed. Not to mention whether Qing'er would be submerged by the energy again because of this, and then slaughter everyone, just based on how the supreme expert would react when he found out about her body, and what consequences would there be for the kingdom of Ziyu if this matter were to spread. Although she knew that her decision to help Shangguan Meiyang escape would incur the displeasure of Empress Dowager Lu and her father, she had no choice but to do so. If not, the Ziyu Immortal Empire would be in trouble. Crash. At this moment, a strong gust of wind suddenly blew in front of the forest, as if something had moved the branches and leaves, producing an extremely weak sound. Sun Xiangyan tensed up and immediately stopped. "Junior sister, be careful. There's someone in front," she shouted in a low voice. Shangguan Meiyang immediately stopped. She leaned against a big tree and took the time to adjust her breathing, but to the current it was just a cup of water on a burning cart of firewood. Sun Xiangyan took out her weapon, activated her profound energy, and carefully looked ahead. However, she heard extremely light footsteps coming from ahead, and in the midst of the haze, there was even a bit of profound energy coming towards them. "Who is it?" Sun Xiangyan shouted. "Is it senior sister Xiangyan and senior sister Shangguan?" At this time, a voice rang out from within the forest, and a young lady dressed in purple robes and wielding a long sword walked out. The woman had phoenix eyes and a long face. She was not good-looking, but she was very heroic. Sun Xiangyan glanced at him and asked curiously, "Who are you? Why are you calling me senior sister? Could it be that you are from the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace?" "That's right, junior sister is the palace master's newly recruited disciple. Today, I've been ordered by master to wait here for the two senior sisters." The woman smiled. "A newly recruited disciple? So that's how it is. No wonder you look unfamiliar." Sun Xiangyan heaved a sigh of relief and said, "But master's movements are really fast. He actually sent someone over. Junior sister, I'll have to trouble you to quickly bring us to see master." "I'm not busy." The woman's gaze landed on Shangguan Meiyang and said, "Senior sister Shangguan seems to be injured. Let's treat her first. This isn't the Violet Moon Immortal Island, it's close to Fenghua City. Even if the people from the Celestial Nation catch up, master will be able to provide support in time. There's no need to worry." With that, the woman walked straight towards Shangguan Meiyang. It was just as she moved, a sharp sword suddenly flew over from the side and pierced towards her head. The woman was shocked and leaped backwards. Her speed was extremely fast, and she instantly dodged. When she stood still, she stared coldly at Sun Xiangyan, who was holding onto the sword. "Senior sister, what are you doing?" "Senior sister? Stop pretending. You are not a member of the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace at all," Sun Xiangyan said angrily. "Oh," the woman sneered, "why do you say that?" Sun Xiangyan said angrily, "First of all, the time is not right. I have only sent a message to master for a day, and as far as I know, master was not in the ultimate martial world at that time. In addition, the aura of a lone cultivator in the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace is completely different from yours. Furthermore, a new disciple of the Immortal Palace, how can I not see through his cultivation? Your strength must be extraordinary, and how could such a person join the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace? So, you must be fake." "Ha ha ha ha, I had thought that Princess Xianyan had always been a straightforward and careless person. I didn't expect to see her today, but I was wrong." The woman laughed out loud. She immediately pulled out her sword and said with a smile, "I originally wanted to save some trouble, but my acting skills are really not good enough. Since that's the case, then let's forget about it. I won't play these little tricks anymore. I'll just bring you guys to see the Empress Dowager." With that, the woman rushed over. "Are you the Empress Dowager's man?" Since that's the case, I want to see if you dare to touch me." Sun Xiangyan bellowed. "Junior sister, quickly bring Qing'er away, I will drag this person away." "Senior sister, hurry up!" As Sun Xiangyan shouted, she rushed towards the woman. "Hee, Princess Xianyan, although I work for the Empress Dowager, don't make a mistake. I am only doing this for money, I am not under the Empress Dowager's orders. If you piss me off, forget about you being the beautiful princess of the kingdom of Ziyu, even the Empress Dowager Lu. It's not that I don't dare to kill you." The woman sneered, her face filled with malevolence. "You!" Sun Xiangyan was infuriated, and rushed towards the woman without a care for anything else. The two of them were locked in battle, unable to separate. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang's expression was complicated, but she was not stupid. With her and Su Qing'er's current situation, it was impossible for them to help Sun Xiangyan, and might even become a burden to her. Gritting her teeth, she turned her head and ran towards Fanghua City. Fanghua City was a seaside city near the Purple Moon Immortal Island. Although this city was close to the kingdom of Ziyu, it was not under the management of the kingdom of Ziyu. The city lord was a supreme expert with astonishing methods. He had taken over Fanghua City 3,000 years ago, and used this place as his cultivation ground. The spirit cultivator who had lived in Fanghua City for a long time were all his subordinates, and were protected by him. The lord of Fanghua City had always been afraid of the kingdom of Ziyu, so the city was heavily guarded and managed. It was not easy for the kingdom of Ziyu's spies to sneak into the city, much less dare to cause trouble in Fanghua Valley. Thinking about it, Shangguan Mei Yang used what little profound qi she had, dragged Su Qing'er's body, and slowly flew towards Fanghua Valley. Along the way, she was trembling with fear. At this time, any random spirit master cultivator could stop her. "Master! Father!" Shangguan Mei Yang, who was panting heavily and running forward, suddenly heard a light call, and immediately turned her head to look, only to see that Su Qing'er had opened her eyes at some point in time, but her current condition was not much better than Shangguan Mei Yang's. Her delicate face was deathly white, and her eyes were only half opened, as if she needed a lot of strength to open the other half. "Qing'er, how are you?" Shangguan Mei Yang asked. I'm fine," Su Qing'er said with difficulty. His voice was so weak that it was almost inaudible. "Don't talk anymore. Hurry up and stabilize your mind. Don't let that energy bury your consciousness again, understand?" "Master, I'm fine." "Put me down," Su Qing'er said weakly. But Shangguan Mei Yang ignored her, and continued to use the profound qi to drag her forward. "Master, if you have anything to say, wait until we enter Fanghua City." Hearing that, Su Qing'er opened her mouth, but did not say anything, but her hands started to tighten. Very quickly, the two girls got close to Fanghua City. Outside the city, they could see many spirit cultivator going in and out. Shangguan Mei Yang put Su Qing'er down. The two of them used techniques at the side, covering their sorry state with techniques, transforming into two ordinary spirit cultivators, and walked towards Fanghua City. As they neared the city gate, the soldiers at the gate glanced at the two of them, but did not pay much attention to them. Shangguan Mei Yang tensed up. She tried her best to maintain her composure, pulled Su Qing'er's hand, and walked forward at a moderate pace. In truth, she had some misgivings in her heart. Qing'er's body was so weak. If she did not guard her mind and consciousness well, she would be submerged by the energy again, and if it flared up here, it would be terrible. There were fish and dragons mixed together, and there would definitely be people who would be able to recognize Qing'er's divine body. Once it was exposed, what awaited Qing'er would be countless unknown terrifying experts. After entering the city, Shangguan Mei Yang immediately brought Qing'er to the spirit cultivator in the city. "Get a room." Shangguan Mei Yang took the cultivation coins and stood in front of the innkeeper without batting an eyelid. "All right, please wait a moment, dear customer." The innkeeper looked at the two of them, smiled and received the 5,000 cultivation coins, then arranged for the waiter to activate the formation in the room. The rooms provided to the spirit cultivator were all used for cultivation, and there were cultivation arrays and pills inside. If one had money, they could even buy female cultivators with low cultivation from the innkeeper for dual cultivation. Many female cultivators, in order to take a shortcut and quickly raise their cultivation, would leave their contact information in such a place. If there was a strong spirit cultivator that had such a need, they would rush over at the first moment. There was no lack of people who coveted beauty in the spirit cultivator, but these spirit cultivator coveted beauty, while the female cultivators used this opportunity to dual cultivate with the other party and quickly raise their strength. "Please wait a moment, the waiter will clean up the room and bring the two of you to rest." The innkeeper laughed. "Do the two of you still need spirit wine and spirit dishes? They are all great supplements." "No need." Shangguan Mei Yang shook her head. "Hee, don't you need it? Speaking of which, the two of you look unfamiliar. Is this your first time in Fanghua City?" "Yes." "Yo, then you have to stay here for a few more days. This is a good place." The innkeeper was full of enthusiasm. Shangguan Mei Yang did not speak anymore. Seeing that, the innkeeper knew that the customer did not like to converse with him. Just then, the waiter had already walked down from upstairs. When the innkeeper saw him, he immediately called out, "Please come in." Chapter 878. After entering the room, the two girls finally heaved a sigh of relief, and Shangguan Mei Yang's tensed-up nerves finally relaxed. She sat cross-legged on the ground and gasped for breath. After a long while, she stopped and took out a few pills from the space bag. She first fed one to Su Qinger, and then put one in her own mouth. The two girls adjusted their breathing for a while, and their complexions finally recovered a little. Shangguan Mei Yang stood up, walked towards Su Qinger, and sat down cross-legged. She placed her small hands on her delicate body, and started to channel the profound qi. However, before she could channel much profound qi, a strong disturbance occurred in her body. Her full chest heaved up and down a few times, and she coughed violently. A trace of blood flowed out from the corner of her mouth. Su Qinger opened his eyes, and upon seeing Shangguan Mei Yang, he immediately called out, "Master, don't move around, quickly rest, don't bother about Qinger. Qinger, your current situation is very bad. You need to stabilize yourself as soon as possible. This small injury of mine is not a problem." "This is not a small injury. Master, you can't help Qinger with your current state." Su Qinger laughed weakly. "So, Master, you should first recuperate yourself. Qinger is fine right now. I have already consumed a few pills, and they have already taken effect. Furthermore, the energy in my body is not as strong as before." Hearing that, Shangguan Mei Yang thought about how Su Qinger must have used up a lot of energy when he started a massacre on the Purple Moon Immortal Island. He nodded and said, "Since that's the case, all right, I'll rest for a while. You must not be careless. If anything happens, you must tell me immediately." "Yes, Master." Su Qinger obediently nodded her head. Seeing that, Shangguan Mei Yang sat down cross-legged and started to meditate. The two girls were hiding in the Fanghua City's inn, but a large number of ZU Immortal Kingdom's spies had already appeared outside the city. Not only that, in the forest outside the city, a large group of Immortal Country experts had already arrived. At this moment, Sun Xiangyan was being pushed forward by the long-faced woman with her hands behind her back. A large number of figures descended from the sky and stood in front of Sun Xiangyan and the long-faced woman. The thick profound qi was like a heavy snowfall, covering the entire place. Sun Xiangyan looked at the person who had arrived, and her gaze fell on the person in the crowd who was being held in a respectful manner by everyone. She couldn't help but lower her head. Empress Dowager Lu slowly walked out of the crowd with a gloomy face. She glanced at Sun Xiangyan, snorted, and said, "Beauty! Do you still remember your last name?" Sun Xiangyan whispered. "You still know your surname is Sun?" Empress Dowager Lu was so angry that her lips trembled. Why were they helping outsiders? "Let me ask you, how did Sun Li die? Those two girls, were you the one who released them? Where are they now?" Sun Xiangyan stammered, not knowing how to reply. "Sun Xiangyan, what are you hesitating for?" Seeing her granddaughter in such a state, Empress Dowager Lu was heartbroken. Not only did these two wild girls kill Sun Li, they also destroyed my immortal country's palace and killed how many people from my immortal country? Today, my ZU kingdom has already become enemies with the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace. If we do not capture Shangguan Mei Yang and the other two girls, my immortal country will not let this matter rest. Empress Dowager, there's actually a misunderstanding here. I don't care if it's a misunderstanding or not, I only know that my immortal country has been erased by that wild girl. I have already invited the supreme expert of the immortal world to descend, and soon, the immortals will enter the immortal island to help me subdue that wild girl. Beauty, Sun Li is your relative, why are you still helping outsiders? If you tell me where the two of them are hiding now, I can still forgive you for your previous mistakes. If you are still stubborn and refuse to tell me, then don't blame me for being heartless. Empress Dowager Lu said in a deep voice, as if she had lost her patience. Hearing that, Sun Xiangyan hurriedly shouted, "Empress Dowager, the matter here is not what you see. Junior sister and the others were not released by me, but by Sun Li." "Why did Sun Li release it?" Sun Xiangyan hesitated, but in the end she chose to shake her head and said, "I don't know either." "I know." At this moment, a voice suddenly interrupted. When everyone heard this, they all looked towards the source of the voice. A thin and weak man wearing a yellow robe with a sharp mouth and monkey cheeks came out of nowhere. He walked directly in front of Empress Dowager Lu and knelt down to pay his respects. This lowly one greets the Empress Dowager. "Who are you?" Empress Dowager Lu said with a frown. "This lowly one is His Highness Sun Li's servant. He usually follows His Highness Sun Li." The man smiled. The Empress Dowager sized up the man and said indifferently, "What do you know? This matter is complicated. This lowly one wishes to speak to you alone, Empress Dowager." The man looked left and right and said in a low voice, "Humph, you'd better not say any nonsense, or else I'll refine you alive." Empress Dowager Lu said in a deep voice. Xian'er waved her hand and summoned a light screen, enveloping her and the monkey-like man. The surrounding guards surrounded the light screen, while the others dispersed. Of course, most of them were looking at Sun Xiangyan. No one knew why Sun Li wanted to bring Shangguan Mei Yang and Su Qing'er out of the prison. Could it be that these two people had some sort of treasure on them? Sun Xiangyan's face was deathly pale. For some reason, she kept her head lowered, and no one knew what she was thinking about. However, what was surprising was that, after the light screen rose, it did not dissipate for a long time. Did it take so long to say something? Everyone looked at each other, not knowing the reason. After about half an incense stick of time had passed, the light screen gradually dissipated. The man with the protruding mouth and monkey cheeks was still kneeling on the ground, while Empress Dowager Lu maintained a shocked expression, as if she had heard something unbelievable. Her eyes were wide open. After a long while, she came back to her senses. She lowered her head and thought for a moment. Xian'er said, "Is what you said true?" "It's absolutely true. This lowly one doesn't dare to lie at all." The monkey-like man rubbed his palms together and said with a smile, "This lowly one heard this with his own ears. Back then, it was His Highness who sent this lowly one to monitor them. If the Empress Dowager does not believe me, you can capture those two girls and ask them." Is that so? Empress Dowager Lu thought for a moment, then asked. Then, what reward do you want? This lowly one does not need any rewards. If I can get a position in the palace and serve His Majesty and the Empress Dowager, then this lowly one will be satisfied. This person had a good plan. After entering the palace of the kingdom of Zu, the cultivation conditions could be said to be blessed by the heavens, and he was also protected by the imperial court. In the future, he would have an endless supply of cultivation materials, and he would even have a blessed land to cultivate in. This was much better than those profound coins. Hearing that, Empress Dowager Lu nodded and said, All right, I will arrange a position in the inner court for you. I hope that you will do well and contribute to my celestial kingdom. Hearing that, the man was overjoyed and hurriedly kowtowed. Thank you, Empress Dowager. Thank you, Empress Dowager. How many people know about this? You, His Highness Sun D. And this little one. Other than that, there's only the heavens and the earth. Then you must keep this a secret in the future. You must not tell anyone. The Empress Dowager said in a low voice, using profound qi to transmit these words. No one else could hear her. The monkey-like man immediately nodded. This lowly one will keep his mouth shut. And the Empress Dowager nodded in satisfaction, then said indifferently, Come here. That person immediately stood up and walked over. Does the Empress Dowager have any other orders? Who would have thought that the moment he said this, the Empress Dowager would suddenly raise her arm and fiercely slap him on the head with a palm filled with a dense aura of destruction. Bang! Bang! The profound strength on the palm touched his head and immediately spread out, instantly tearing his body apart. Before he could even react, he had already died, and his soul flew out from his shattered body. The face of the soul was twisted, filled with panic, shock, and hesitation. The people around them were also shocked. Why did the Empress Dowager suddenly kill him? What was going on? Refine his soul. Empress Dowager Lu said indifferently. Also, immediately send the order back and ask that immortal to return. Tell him that Sun Xianyan and the rest have been captured, and give him the magic treasure that he has been eyeing for a long time. Although he will be angered if he makes a wasted trip, I believe that he will not say anything else after obtaining the treasure. Yes. A guard at the side said in a low voice, then quickly left. This change caused everyone to be unable to recover from their shock for a long time. Everything was fine. How could this happen? Hearing these words, Sun Xiangyan knew that the person had probably already told the Empress Dowager everything. The Empress Dowager was not an idiot. She knew the stakes involved. Not to mention whether or not she wanted the divine body, just the fact that this matter was leaked would bring a great disaster to the kingdom of Zu. No matter what, this person would die. In fact, not only this person, even Sun Xiangyan herself was a little uncertain. This was because she was also someone who knew about this matter. If the Empress Dowager wanted to keep it a secret, it was not impossible for her to kill her as well. A spirit cultivator expert took out a ball of fire and wrapped it around the man's soul. In the blink of an eye, not even ashes were left. Empress Dowager Lu raised her head and looked at the long-faced woman who was holding on to Sun Xiangyan. She asked in a deep voice, Where did those two go? They have already notified the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace and arranged to meet in Fanghua City. I think they should be hiding in Fanghua City right now. The long-faced woman said. Fanghua City? Empress Dowager Lu said coldly. Do they think that by hiding here, they can stop the footsteps of our celestial kingdom? Empress Dowager, Fanghua City Lord. It's not easy to deal with. Immediately mobilize the army of the celestial kingdom and head here. I want to see if that supreme expert will go against my celestial kingdom for the sake of these two girls. Empress Dowager Lu said coldly. Yes, sir. Then Empress Dowager, Her Highness, lock her up and send people to guard her day and night. She is not allowed to come into contact with anyone. If anyone were to say a word to her, both of them will die together," Empress Dowager Lu said with killing intent. As soon as she said this, everyone shuddered, and their bodies couldn't help but tremble a few times. Chapter 879. This time, Empress Dowager Lu did not hesitate. A large number of experts from the immortal country rushed over and surrounded half of the city. When the soldiers of Fanghua City saw the spirit cultivator flying in the sky, they were so scared that they almost sat on the ground. They immediately turned around and ran into the city to report. The city gates were forcefully closed, and the barrier around the city was immediately activated. Some of the spirit cultivator who were joining in the fun looked from afar and realized that these people were all from the kingdom of Ziyu. There were tens of thousands of them, and all of their cultivations were extremely shocking. They were immediately shocked. What was the kingdom of Ziyu trying to do? Could it be that they finally couldn't hold it in and planned to swallow Fanghua City? The originally quiet Fanghua City immediately became restless, like a pot of boiling water. The people in the city wanted to leave the city, but the barrier had already been opened, making it difficult for them to leave the city. The soldiers in the city flew up in an orderly manner and stood guard on top of the city wall. They pulled out their swords and blades and faced the approaching Ziyu immortal country. Although there were not many immortal countries, only tens of thousands of people, compared to the huge Fanghua Valley, the number of people was less than 10 times less. However, one had to know that the strength of the kingdom of Ziyu did not lie in the number of people, but in their strength. Most of the experts from the immortal country were existences of the Spirit Emperor, and with a wave of their hands, they could destroy the world. With so many forces gathered together, it would not be an exaggeration to say that they could raze Fanghua City to the ground. Why did you seal the city gates? Hurry up and open the city, I want to find someone. Empress Dowager Lu flew out and shouted at the top of the city wall. If you're looking for someone, then why did you bring so many people? Empress Dowager Lu, I don't think you're looking for someone, but more like you're causing trouble. At this moment, a clear voice floated out from within the city. Everyone looked up and saw a young, handsome, and elegant young master dressed in a white robe flying out. He had a noble temperament and a face that seemed to have been carved by a knife or axe. He had sharp edges and his eyes were bright and full of expression. How could he be handsome? However, what was even more surprising was that this person's cultivation could not be seen through. When he flew out of the city, he could not feel the slightest bit of his aura. He had already reached the realm of restraining his aura, and even an expert like Empress Dowager Lu could not detect him. Gentleman Empress Dowager Lu said. Empress Dowager Lu is in a good mood. You actually came to my little Fanghua City. Welcome, welcome. However, my city's walls are too short. I'm afraid I can't entertain so many people from the kingdom of Purple Moon. Junlang swept his gaze across the densely packed experts of the celestial nation before him as he spoke calmly. With such a show of force, it was clear that they did not come with good intentions. When Mr. E heard the news, he rushed over almost immediately. I'm not in the mood to be a guest here. I'm here to ask for the person. If you know what's good for you, hand him over. Empress Dowager Lu snorted. You want him? Who do you want? Junlang was stunned. My granddaughter, the junior sister of Princess Xianyan, is an esteemed guest of my celestial country. It is said that she was being hunted down and fled to your Fanghua City. There is no news of her now. Speak, did you detain the two of them? Empress Dowager Lu snorted. Junlang chuckled. Empress Lu's words are truly laughable. Firstly, I have no enmity with your kingdom of Ziyu and I don't even know these two people, so why would I detain them? Secondly, I didn't know that these two people came to my fragrant flower city, so why would I detain them? Empress Lu, you're the empress of a country, How can you speak without thinking? Everything needs evidence. If you can't produce any evidence, then you're slandering me. Slander? I don't have any evidence, but I'm going to enter the city to search for them. If they're really not here after my search, then it's my slander. Empress Lu said. Fanghua City is already my territory. How can I allow anyone to search my territory? If this matter were to spread out, how can I, Mr. E, still have a foothold in the myriad of worlds in the future? Yi Junlang shook his head, clearly disagreeing with Empress Lu's request. Mr. E, you're saying this because you have a guilty conscience. Could it be that the two of them are really being detained by you? It seems like Empress Lu is determined to search my Fanghua City. I'm only looking for people. If I can't find these two people, I'll immediately leave with my people and won't stay for long. In addition, I'll personally apologize to Lord E. What do you think? Empress Lu said lightly. Yi Junlang frowned slightly. He felt that Empress Lu was not here to cause trouble, but to search Fanghua City. He thought for a moment and asked the person beside him, "Is there anyone from the Kingdom of Purple Moon here today?" This, "Lord, the flow of people in Fanghua City is too high. I'm afraid we don't know," the person beside him said awkwardly. "That's true." Yi Junlang nodded, then said loudly, "Fine, since Empress Dowager Lu has already said so, if I still refuse, it would seem like I'm guilty. The innocent will be innocent, the corrupted will be corrupted, I'm not afraid." However, Empress Dowager Lu, if you can't find the person you're looking for, I don't need you to apologize, just hand over the purple heart jade stone of your kingdom of Ziyu. What do you say? Yi Junlang's eyes were fixed on Empress Lu. This treasure was something he had been eyeing for a long time. Even in his dreams, he couldn't find the chance to do so. Today was like an opportunity, so he decided to take it. He thought Empress Lu would hesitate for a while, but unexpectedly, she agreed immediately. Fine. Hearing this, Yi Junlang had a bad feeling. At this moment, he was convinced that Empress Lu was here to find someone. The reason why she was acting like this was to find a breakthrough point. However, the words had already been spoken. With so many people watching, Yi Junlang didn't dare to turn back. He waved his hand and shouted, "Open the enchantment, let them in." Castellan. Lord. This, everyone felt something was wrong. Yi Junlang snorted, "Don't worry. The Kingdom of Purple Moon will not do anything to us. This is my territory. Empress Lu only has so few people, they can't do anything. If they dare to do anything, I will make sure they die here." Since Yi Junlang said so, no one dared to refute. Open the gates. Retract the enchantment barrier. Shouts and shouts were heard. Soon, the enchantment around Fanghua City dissipated, and the city gate creaked open. "Enter the city," Empress Lu shouted. "Wait." Yi Junlang shouted from the top of the city, "Only half of you can enter the city. The rest, wait outside." When Empress Dowager Lu heard this, she frowned but did not say anything in the end. She only nodded to the people beside her and led them in. Half of the experts from the Celestial Nation were gathered outside, while the rest began to enter the city one after another. The spirit cultivators in the city gathered in groups of 2s and 3s. Seeing Empress Lu walk in, they were all discussing among themselves. Empress Lu ignored the onlookers. This was Yi Junlang's territory after all. She couldn't be angry. If this was the Kingdom of Purple Moon, no matter where they came from, they would have to pay their respects to the Empress Lu. Who would dare to point at her like this? Spread out and use your treasures to search. Even if these two are not here, they must have left some traces. Go quickly. Empress Lu shouted to the people beside her. Yes, Empress Lu. Everyone cupped their fists and spread out like a fishing net. They began to search the entire Fanghua Valley. These Celestial Kingdom experts moved quickly and methodically. Yi Junlang stood at the top of the city wall and looked at these uninvited guests. He was deep in thought. City Lord, are you going to let them do whatever they want? The people beside him asked Yi Junlang in a low voice. Do whatever they want? Yi Junlang sneered. How can we let them do whatever they want? I just want to see who or what Empress Dowager Lu is looking for. City Lord, what do you mean by that? Don't you understand? Don't you see who is coming? Huh. The crowd looked at each other, not understanding Yi Junlang's words. Yi Junlang spoke again. A bunch of good-for-nothings. Can't you see what's going on? Don't you know who Empress Lu is? She is the current ruler of the Kingdom of Purple Moon. The Emperor of the Kingdom of Purple Moon is injured and who knows when he will die. Empress Lu is in control of the entire Kingdom of Purple Moon. But why would such a powerful person make such a big fuss over a junior sister of her own granddaughter? Why would she bring so many Celestial Kingdom experts, and in person at that? Do you think that's necessary? So, Empress Lu is just looking for someone. She definitely has other motives. When he said that, everyone was enlightened. What a joke, Empress Lu, treating us as fools and even swaggering in. Since she wants to find someone, let her find them. Yi Junlang turned and said softly, all of you, go and gather your men. Gather in secret and wait for my orders. Yes, master. Everyone immediately retreated. Empress Lu, oh Empress Lu, I want to see why you came to my Fanghua city this time. Yi Junlang took a deep breath, his mouth forming a strange arc. The entire Fanghua city was in an uproar. Shangguan Meiyang and Qing'er, who were hiding in the tavern, naturally sensed the commotion. Shangguan Meiyang quietly peeked out of the window and felt the qi coming from the city gate. It was Empress Lu's qi. Although she knew that Empress Dowager Lu would send people to Fanghua City, she didn't expect that Empress Dowager Lu would actually bring people to Fanghua City. According to her plan, Fanghua City Lord would certainly not allow Empress Dowager Lu to enter. The situation in front of her was far beyond her expectations. Master, they have already arrived, we cannot stay here for long, we need to leave quickly. Qing'er said softly. She was much better than before, her face had a tinge of red, and her voice was not as weak as before. Don't panic, Shangguan Meiyang said softly. I have calculated the time, I reckon that in at most half a day, Mother and the rest will rush over, at that time, we will definitely be out of danger. In such a situation, they could only take one step at a time and try their best to stall for time. Chapter 880. Although Shangguan Meiyang said so, it didn't change anything because both of them were thinking. Even if Shangguan Qingqing came to Fanghua City, what could she do? Could the Divine Cloud Immortal Palace deal with so many experts? Shangguan Meiyang closed the window, worry flashing across her face. After a moment, she said softly, Qing'er, the inn will definitely be searched by them, but it's too late to leave the city now, we have to think of a way to hide. If we don't have a strong qi concealing treasure, it will be hard for us to hide. Qing'er shook her head. There were many ways for Spirit Cultivator to hide, and it was the easiest to hide one's body. However, hiding one's body was not the main thing, the most important thing was how to hide one's qi. If one only hid one's body and let the other party sense a strand of qi, then one would still be exposed. What's so difficult about hiding my aura? Shangguan Meiyang smiled slightly. You and I can change our appearances. This Fanghua city is a big city, there are many spirit cultivator-s in the city, there are many fish and dragons mixed together. If the people from the ZU Immortal Kingdom want to find the two of us from so many people, it would be like finding a needle in a haystack. Qing'er, let's move here. Immediately go to the streets and pretend to be spectators. Quick. Hearing that, Qing'er nodded her head obediently, and immediately followed Shangguan Meiyang out. The two of them activated their illusion techniques and changed their appearances into that of ordinary female cultivators. Although they were still very beautiful, they did not give off a breathtaking feeling. After going downstairs and leaving the inn, he could see that the inside and outside of the inn were filled with spirit cultivator. Even the shopkeeper ran to the entrance of the inn to look, probably not knowing what had happened. The experts of the kingdom of Purple Moon soared into the sky and spread out like a huge net, covering the entire Fanghua city. What are the people of the kingdom of Ziyu doing in Fanghua city? Who knows? Didn't they say that the city lord of Fanghua city and the Purple Moon Immortal Kingdom have always been in conflict? Why did you let them enter the city this time? I heard that even Empress Dowager Lu of the Celestial Empire is here. I'm afraid there must be something important. Something important? Who cares? We just have to be careful. If they start fighting, we have to run far away and don't get caught up in it. Yes. We have to be careful. The spirit cultivator at the door whispered to each other and discussed. Su Qing'er and Shangguan Meiyang looked at each other, and quietly stood at the back of the crowd, tiptoeing to look at the distant sky. So. 3 air-piercing sounds came from the sky, and then 3 figures steadily landed in front of the inn. Hey sirs, what are your orders? The shopkeeper didn't dare to be negligent and hurriedly went over with a flattering smile. Although he knew that these fellows were not here to stay, the shopkeeper still did not dare to look down on them. After all, they were people from the kingdom of Ziyu. If they were to mess around and destroy his shop, he would want to cry but have no tears. Those people did not immediately answer the innkeeper's question. Instead, they waved their hands and the 2 of them spread out. One of them walked out of the inn and took out a magic treasure. After activating it, he summoned a barrier that surrounded the inn. The other person entered the inn to search. Innkeeper, let me ask you. The remaining person turned his head and looked at the innkeeper indifferently. Do you have any women staying in your inn? A woman? The innkeeper was startled. Sir, there are many female cultivators staying in our inn. I wonder which one you are looking for? 2, and both of them are injured. Master, there are too many people in our inn every day. Look at me, my cultivation isn't high and my memory isn't too good either. Whenever 2 women live together or enter together, they are definitely suspicious. Take out your registration book and recording crystal and let me take a look, the man said. Hearing that, the innkeeper immediately ran away. The registration book was the information that every spirit cultivator had to register when staying in the inn, and it required a nameplate level, while the recording crystal was a magic treasure placed at the entrance of most of the inns, 1 on each side. Every day, whoever entered, the crystal would shine and leave behind an image, and if someone escaped after causing trouble, they could use the recording crystal to find out who they were. The innkeeper took out the 2 items and handed them over to the man, who immediately checked them. Seeing that, Su Qing'er and Shangguan Meiyang, who were in the crowd, their faces changed. The 2 of them quietly retreated, distancing themselves from the inn. The man's eyesight was extremely good. He quickly flipped through the registration book, then closed it, and then quickly went through the spirit cultivator's figure recorded in the recording crystal. It only took a few breaths of time. Who are these 2 women? Which room do they live in? The man caught onto something suspicious and locked onto the recording crystal. He pointed at the 2 petite figures inside and asked in a low voice. The innkeeper was startled. He immediately ran over, glanced at the recording crystal, and shouted, In the 3rd room of the sky. Xiao Su, quickly go to the 3rd room of the sky. Quick! The man shouted at the people searching inside. All right. The person inside nodded and immediately rushed to the 2nd floor of the inn. After a while, he ran down again. There's no one in the room. No one? Humph. It's most likely these 2 girls. They must have known that we had already searched this place and immediately escaped. We'll chase after them immediately, the 2 said in unison. No need. This Fanghua city has already been sealed. They won't be able to escape. I'm guessing that they are still hiding in the city. Xiao Su, if that's the case, Quickly go see the Empress Dowager and inform her of this matter. Wen Ming, you and I will search here. All right. Also, innkeeper, quickly get everyone to return to their rooms. Tell them that anyone who does not return to this inn will be killed without mercy. The man said. Hearing that, the innkeeper was stunned. Master, this isn't too good, is it? I don't have the authority to do so. I'll give you the authority. The man bellowed. You give him the authority? Who do you think you are? If you tell us to go back, we'll go back? Don't think that just because you're from the kingdom of Ziyu, we're afraid of you. This is Fanghua City. That's right, you're too arrogant. If you want to find someone, then find them. What right do you have to order us around? The man's words were heard by a few spirit cultivators nearby. They were immediately angered and shouted. They did not believe that the people from the kingdom of Ziyu would dare to behave atrociously here. After all, this was Yi Jun's territory. If they were to act recklessly, wouldn't they be provoking Yi Jun? Hearing that, the man's face darkened. He immediately took action. A suction force shot out from his palm and sucked all of them over. Everyone lost control of themselves and fell in front of him. They saw a translucent white light brewing in his left hand and fiercely striking at the people in front of him. Dong! 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 These people were directly struck in the abdomen and back by the white light. They were smashed to the point of vomiting blood. The profound qi in their bodies scattered wildly. From the looks of it, all the spirit essences in their bodies had been shattered. Their cultivation was gone. Seeing that, the surrounding onlookers immediately burst into an uproar. No one would have thought that this person would be so vicious and directly cripple these people's cultivation. This is Fanghua City, so I won't kill you. I will only cripple your cultivation. If you are in the kingdom of Ziyu, you won't even be able to keep your souls. The man growled gloomily. Now, I order all of you to quickly return to this inn. If anyone does not obey, this will be the outcome. Everyone was angry but did not dare to say anything. In the end, this person was an expert of the immortal country. The strength of the Spirit Emperor was not to be underestimated. How could the rogue cultivators be a match for him? Dear guests, it's better that we go back. The shopkeeper also advised. Everyone looked at each other in dismay, but in the end, they chose to compromise. The people staying at the inn were not willing to fight to the death with such a supreme expert over such a small matter. Thus, the people standing outside the inn all walked into the inn. Qing stand a little further away from me. Shangguan Meiyang said in a low voice. Slowly move towards other places, don't stay around the inn, they will definitely investigate. I'm afraid no female cultivator will let them go. Master, why don't we disguise ourselves as men? It's extremely difficult to disguise as a man. We can transform, but we can't transform, and the feminine qi of a woman is even more so. Right now we don't have much profound strength, and our condition is not good. If we disguise ourselves as men, it will be difficult for us to hold on for long, and when they discover that the two men are filled with feminine qi, how could they not be suspicious? So, it's safer for women. Don't worry, even if they want to investigate, it won't be easy. There are hundreds of thousands of people in Fanghua City. Hearing that, Su Qinger nodded. The two of them started to split up and went to places with more people. Because of the actions of the immortal country expert, the inn became extremely chaotic. The spirit cultivator S in the distance flew low and looked over. Originally, the lockdown of the city had caused everyone to panic, but now that something had happened, the entire city had become even more chaotic. Not long after, Empress Dowager Lu led a group of immortal country experts over. Fourth Feather, I heard that you already have traces of those two girls? Empress Dowager Lu asked indifferently. Reporting to Empress Dowager, the two of them might have stayed in this inn before. This subordinate has found a suspicious person in the recording crystal. The man called Fourth Feather immediately cupped his fists and said, Then, where are they? When this subordinate went to the room to look, They were no longer there. They had most likely been scared away. Is that so? The Empress Dowager thought for a moment, then suddenly said, "Let me see the recording crystal." Yes. Fourth Feather immediately carried the crystal and walked over. The Empress Dowager took it and looked at it carefully. She was not as fast as Fourth Feather, nor was she as impatient as him. Instead, she looked at every scene from the beginning to the end. Suddenly, a strange luster flashed past the Empress Dowager's eyes, as though she had seen something. "Fourth Feather, come over here," the Empress Dowager said softly. Fourth Feather nodded and walked over. The Empress Dowager returned the recording crystal to his hands and said indifferently, "Go." Fourth Feather glanced at the crystal, only to realize that the scene had already reached the end, and in the scene, two ladies were walking out one after another. Chapter 881. After Cu discovered the suspicious person, he immediately informed the others to search, but did not flip through the entire recording crystal. However, Empress Dowager Lu was different. She saw the two women who suddenly appeared at the end, and the two of them did not see them enter the shop, so it was very likely that they were the people she was looking for. After the Empress Dowager asked Cu to investigate, she ordered the shopkeeper to take out the recording crystal from a few days ago. After looking through it, she discovered that the records from a few days ago did not contain the figures of the two women. However, what made Empress Dowager Lu curious was why the current Su Qing'er did not have the terrifying strength she had back then. According to the report of the long-faced woman who captured Sun Xiangyan, Su Qing'er did not have much strength. From the looks of it, she was severely injured, and any spirit cultivator would be able to subdue her. Empress Dowager Lu did not know what was going on with Su Qing'er, but she believed that the current Su Qing'er would definitely not be able to contend against her. Otherwise, she would not have fled in such a panic. Send more people and start a thorough search of the city. No one is allowed to enter or leave. Empress Dowager Lu said to the people beside her. "Yes, sir." The servant cupped his fists and immediately left. "Empress Dowager Lu, where is the person you're looking for?" At this moment, Yi Junlang walked over with a strange smile on his face as he said indifferently, "City Lord Yi, there's no need to worry. They'll be found soon." Empress Dowager Lu said indifferently, "Is the person you're looking for really the junior sister of Princess Xianyan?" Yi Junlang asked again. "If they are really as you said, junior sisters of Princess Xianyan, then may I ask where Princess Xianyan is?" "She's sick, so she can't come." "Oh? Is that so? Then I won't say any more. It's just that I don't understand, why haven't the two of them appeared after you've made such a big commotion? If they knew that you were coming, they should have appeared immediately, right? Why do you still need to search like this?" Yi Junlang revealed a puzzled look. "Hee, City Lord Yi, I have to ask you this." Empress Dowager Lu snorted. "They are in this city, but they don't appear now. I'm afraid they are trapped by someone." When Yi Junlang heard this, his expression changed slightly. "In short, City Lord Yi doesn't need to worry about us. We will leave immediately once we find them. Forgive us for not accompanying you." Empress Dowager Lu ignored Yi Junlang and left. A murderous glint flashed across her eyes. It was obvious that she knew that Lord Yi's husband was suspicious. Yi Junlang stood at the same spot, watching Empress Dowager Lu leave. His expression changed slightly. Empress Dowager Lu doesn't know what's good for her. How dare she suspect you? Why didn't she think about it? "Darren, why did you take those two girls for no reason?" the attendant at the side said angrily. "That's just her excuse." Yi Junlang snorted inwardly. "Ignore her, let her go. Everyone here is my man. I don't believe she can do anything under my watch." "City Lord, what should we do now?" the attendant asked in a low voice. "Just keep an eye on them. Don't worry, they won't be able to do anything," Yi Junlang said calmly. "Yes." Crack. A low voice resounded in the empty ancient tomb. In the empty tomb, the last statue also cracked open and slowly decayed. Su Yun sat cross-legged in front of the statue, closed his eyes and quietly adjusted his qi. The statue released a large amount of rainbow-colored qi. The qi was like a living being, quickly converging towards the man sitting cross-legged. The energy of the qi was astonishing. Like many spirit snakes, they coiled around the statue and finally flowed into it. The qi on the statue became more and more intense, and the statue became more and more decayed. The man sitting cross-legged was filled with a terrifying and ferocious energy. The man's qi became stronger and stronger, almost reaching its peak. Like boiling water, the water was pushed out of the kettle by the high temperature. Gudong gudong gudong. Like the sound of a raging bull or tiger drinking water, Su Yun's 4 limbs suddenly swelled up, like sandbags, quickly squirming, and after a moment returned to normal. Then, a large number of spirit beast illusions appeared around him. Horse, dragon, eagle. The illusions let out roars and screams. In an instant the atmosphere was magnificent. There were thousands of spirit beast illusions floating around him. It was a spectacular sight. After an unknown period of time, the mystical scene finally disappeared. Su Yun slowly opened his eyes and stood up. At this moment, his eyes were no longer blood-red in color, but a strange golden color. His pupils seemed to have 10,000 beasts fusing together. It was profound and profound, causing people to be extremely stunned. Lord Demon Lord, I hope that you will not let us down. The decaying statue let out a low yet weak voice, like an old man in his final years speaking with his last bit of strength. This junior will definitely not let everyone down. Su Yun nodded his head, his golden pupils gradually returning to normal. If that's the case, then that's good. We can rest assured. Senior, Junior still has one more thing that I don't understand. I wonder if Senior can tell me. What else do you want to say? Junior knows that all of you are great demons of my true devil sect, but Junior does not know why all of you want to leave the true devil sect. If all of you were still in the true devil sect, wouldn't it make the true devil sect even stronger and more prosperous? Why did they all leave? Or could it be everyone? The statues left behind by the great demons were already shocking. It was hard to imagine their true strength. If the great demons of the true devil sect were still here, forget about the true devil realm, even the entire myriad heavens realm would be in the bag. Lord Demon Lord, we did not die, but for some reason, we had no choice but to leave. The voice coming from the statue became weaker and weaker. As for what you asked, it's useless for you to hear it now. You will understand in the future. As the sound of his voice faded, the statue had already completely decayed, and there was no trace of life left. He didn't want to explain, but he had his reasons. Su Yun stood quietly in the empty ancient tomb, his expression calm, and just watched quietly. After an unknown period of time, he finally turned around and walked out of the ancient tomb. Along the way, all the statues had rotted, and every single one of them had fought with him before, and every single one of them was like a teacher, teaching Su Yun different fighting techniques, allowing him to experience all kinds of experts, and bestowing him with precious wealth. He walked over step by step, and the sound of his footsteps knocking on the cold ground spread throughout the ancient tomb. When they approached the door, the relief at the door also came down. It crawled on the ground, as if it was respectfully sending Su Yun off. Su Yun walked straight out of the door and left the ancient tomb. The moment he walked out of the ancient tomb, it was as if he had stepped into another world from one world. The air outside seemed to be purer than the air inside, even though this was still the true devil realm. Finally, he came out. He stretched his arms, and his entire body emitted crackling sounds. Greetings, Lord Demon Lord. When the devil cultivator, who was waiting outside, saw someone walk out, he immediately knelt down on one knee and called out in a low voice. Immediately arrange for me to go into closed-door cultivation, Su Yun said. He still had a large pile of medicinal pills in his body that he had yet to digest. At this time, closed-door cultivation was the most important thing. This subordinate will immediately make the arrangements. Master, do you need to inform the eight-toothed sect leader? No need, he's busy dealing with the incoming enemies. Time is of the essence, so I won't let him worry. Just bring me there. Yes. Devil Cultivator nodded, and immediately led Su Yun out of the forbidden grounds. Devil Cultivator led Su Yun straight to the place where Chi Go and the sect leader were cultivating. After informing the Devil Cultivator who was guarding the place, Devil Cultivator immediately tidied up a huge cave for Su Yun to cultivate in. There was everything in the cave: pills that could assist in cultivation, formations, magic tools, and so on. There were even 2 female Devil Cultivators arranged outside the cave for Su Yun to use for dual cultivation. However, Su Yun did not want to use these. As far as he was concerned, these things were not of much use to him. After entering the closed-door cultivation area, he gave an order and sealed the cave entrance. Su Yun then sat down cross-legged and began to digest. It was unknown how many pills he had swallowed in the ancient tomb, but Su Yun's stomach was filled to the brim. His stomach was sometimes cold and sometimes hot, and he was tortured to death by the energy of the pills. Fortunately, his cultivation was strong now, so he was not disturbed by these factors. It was unknown what grade the pills of the great demons were, but they were all extremely effective. Some of them could increase his innate bone and strengthen his body, while others could strengthen his mind and increase his mental state. These things usually required bitter cultivation to strengthen, and ordinary pills could not have such an effect. It had to be said that the methods of the great demons of the true devil sect were indeed astonishing. This closed-door cultivation lasted for an entire 7 days. In these 7 days, Su Yun had been tempered by these pills to an extremely miraculous degree. Some pills could make him feel extremely comfortable, but some pills could make him feel unbearable pain. 7 days later, Su Yun walked out of the closed-door cultivation ground. With the help of the Imperial Battle Robe and the power of the Supreme Sect's main soul, Su Yun's cultivation showed signs of breaking through once again, but what was even more shocking was his chi. At this moment, his chi was like a myriad of illusions, making it hard to fathom. Calculating it, this trip to the ancient tomb had been delayed for about a few months, so he went to see how Chi was doing. This time, Su Yun would naturally not stand by the side and watch the battle with the immortal-seeking sect. The true devil sect would always stand up for him in times of danger. How could he not repay them? But compared to this, Su Yun was still concerned about one thing, and that was the matter of the sword ancestor's soul. Now that he had enough strength, the immortal-seeking sect had not arrived yet. Maybe he should go to the ultimate martial world to look for the sword ancestor's soul. With his cultivation, it should not be difficult to find his soul. Thinking about it, Su Yun stood up and quickly walked out of the closed-door cultivation grounds, heading towards the main hall of the true devil sect. Is the vice sect leader here? Su Yun found a devil cultivator and casually asked. The eight-toothed sect leader just returned from the front lines. He is currently in the hall discussing matters with the various elders. The devil cultivator said. Got it. Su Yun nodded and walked straight to the hall. Chapter 882. Yo, the Devil King has come out of seclusion? When Octagon Aniseed, who was talking to the elders in the hall, saw Su Yun walking in, he immediately stood up and said with a smile. The demons in the hall also stood up, cupped their fists and said respectfully, Welcome back, Demon Monarch. Everyone, take a seat. There's no need to stand on ceremony. Su Yun nodded. People took their seat. What's the situation now? Is there any movement from the immortal-seeking sect? Su Yun sat on a chair at the side and asked. There's no movement for now. Octagon Aniseed sighed. I don't know what the immortal seeking sect is up to. The more they don't move, the more worried I am. Worried about what? Naturally, I'm worried that they'll make a big move. Either they don't do anything or they do something big. If that's the case, it'll be a headache. Maybe they don't plan to do anything to my true devil sect. This is impossible. Octagon Aniseed shook his head. In order to develop, the immortal seeking sect is anxious to obtain resources. They must be plundering everywhere, but the immortal world restricts them. Now that they have an excuse, how can they give up just like that? What will they do? Su Yun asked. Maybe they'll go to the immortal world to invite some expert. After all, the immortal seeking sect doesn't fight battles they're not confident of winning. I am sure that they have already grasped the movements of our true devil sect, and they must know that we are on guard. If they hire an expert, I'm afraid that the expert will take a lot of resources. If they are greedy, they won't do that. You're right, but it's better to be safe than sorry. What's your plan? Naturally, we'll contact external help first. The true devil realm is only so big, and almost all of them are led by the true devil sect. Where are you going to find external help? Ultimate martial world? Su Yun frowned and asked. Although the people of the ultimate martial world do not reject the demonic cultivators, but they more or less do not want to be associated with the demonic cultivators. If they knew that we still have to fight against the enemy, and even to the point of asking for reinforcements, I'm afraid they would not care. What I mean is, to find like-minded friends. It can't be the demon realm of the sky martial continent, right? Su Yun asked. Although the devil world was powerful in the martial heaven continent, they were just a bunch of noobs here. Of course not. People from that realm can no longer get involved in the matters here. To them, we're practically gods. Then where do you plan to go? Hee, of course it's the true evil realm. He laughed. True evil realm? Su Yun was slightly startled. That's right, since there was a true devil realm, how could there not be a true evil realm? He did not know if there was a true evil sword sect in the true evil realm. I have already sent the 2 demons as envoys to the evil sword sect in the true evil realm to talk to the sect leader. If this is successful, the immortal seeking sect will not be a match for them. He laughed. What? Is there really an evil sword sect? Su Yun was stunned. He thought about the evil sword sect leader Chen Tianxie, Chen Yiyun and the rest that he had met in the evil realm. He wondered how they were now. Was the evil sword sect in the evil realm related to the evil sword sect in the true evil realm? But I've never heard them mention it before. Their names were the same, so there should be a connection. All right, let's not talk about this anymore. Let's talk about you, Lord Devil Monarch. Did you have any fortuitous encounters in the ancient tomb? Hurry up and tell us. At this time, Octagon Aniseed changed the topic and said with a smile. As soon as he said that, the surrounding elders immediately became spirited. They all pricked up their ears and looked at him with shining eyes. In a place like the ancient tomb, only the demon monarch could enter. Inside, there were treasures left behind by the ancestors of the true devil sect, and no one knew what it looked like. After all, almost no one had ever entered before, so they were naturally very curious. Seeing that, Su Yun did not hide anything, and with a slight smile, he told her everything that had happened. When the crowd heard this, they cried out in surprise and sighed. All of them had rich expressions on their faces. Even Octagon Aniseed was shocked by Su Yun's words, and only regained his senses after a while. So you're saying, Demon Monarch, you have obtained the inheritance of the 100 great demons? Rather than saying it's an inheritance, it's more like a gift. After all, Lord Devil Monarch only obtained some items and did not obtain their absolute art. Third Elder's words are wrong. Octagon Aniseed shook his head. The so-called inheritance is not a gift, but a mission. His expression became serious. The reason why the great demon only allowed the demon monarch to enter the ancient tomb was because he hoped that the demon monarch could take over their mission and protect our true devil sect. Mission? Yes. He turned around, looked at Su Yun, and said seriously, "So, here, I hope that Lord Demon Monarch will live up to the expectations of the seniors, and protect our true devil sect until the next demon monarch appears." Su Yun stared at Octagon Aniseed, and nodded seriously, but did not say a word. "Oh right, Lord Demon Monarch, it just so happens that you're here. I have something to ask of you," Octagon Aniseed suddenly said with a smile. "What is it?" "It's about the ultimate martial world. It's not a difficult matter, it's just an errand." Octagon Aniseed turned around and sat down on a chair. Only a few arrogant and despotic people were still unwilling to leave, and they were then taught a lesson by the experts of the Celestial Nation. Empress Dowager Lu was too lazy to care about the people around her. She walked directly in front of the two. However, just as she steadied herself, her expression suddenly changed. "Empress Dowager, why are you arresting us? What have we done wrong?" "Empress Dowager, we didn't do anything. Please let us go. We didn't offend you," the two girls cried and shouted. However, the Empress Dowager turned around and glared at the Celestial Nation experts as she bellowed. These two did not disguise their auras. "Don't tell me you can't even sense this?" "Disguise my aura?" The experts of the Celestial Nation were taken aback. They didn't use any disguise techniques. They are the real people, not Shangguan Mei Yang and the others. "You've been tricked, you useless fools." Empress Dowager Lu bellowed in exasperation. "Hurry up and continue looking for them." "Yes. Yes." The Celestial Nation experts were still confused, not understanding what the Empress Dowager was talking about. However, the Empress Dowager was already furious, so they didn't dare to ask any more questions. They could only nod and leave. After the Celestial Nation experts left, Empress Dowager Lu's expression finally recovered a little. She waved her hand and released the two girls. "Empress Dowager, aren't these the two we're looking for? Didn't the recording crystal show their appearances?" An attendant walked over from behind and whispered to the Empress Dowager with cupped fists. These two looked exactly the same as the recording crystal. There should be no mistake. "I've still underestimated these two girls," Empress Dowager Lu said solemnly. Empress Dowager Lu said, "They already knew that we would come to the inn to capture them, and even knew that we would find the recording crystal to look at, so they purposely transformed into the appearance of the people in Fanghua City. We caught the wrong people, we caught the real people, we were misled. Now that we have captured these two, I'm afraid we have already alerted them. They must have hidden themselves." The attendant frowned. "If they have already found out that we have captured these two, I'm afraid that they will have to use their profound technique again. If they change into someone else's appearance, we will lose all our clues. How can we find them?" Right now, it was like looking for a needle in a haystack. "So what if they transform?" "They can only transform into females. If they transform, their chi will be even denser. All of you will immediately start a comprehensive search. Do not let any of the girls go, as long as they are suspicious, or have disguised chi on them. Then capture them all. I would rather kill 10,000 than let one go." "Yes, Empress Dowager." The attendant went down to give the orders, but the Empress Dowager's face did not look good. She never thought that Shangguan Mei Yang and Su Qing would actually transform into the people of Fanghua City to deceive them. Cunning girl. But you still can't escape from this Empress's palm. The Empress Dowager secretly clenched her teeth and said softly, "Empress Dowager, can you tell me what's going on?" Just then, a voice floated over from afar. Empress Dowager frowned. Without turning, she already knew who it was. City Lord E, what do you mean? Empress Dowager said indifferently. Aren't you guys looking for someone? How did it become capturing people? I was curious before, why didn't the person you saved appear when you came to save them? It seems like they are hiding from you guys. Yi Junling's mouth curled into a strange smile, staring at Empress Dowager with a ruthless gaze. Empress Dowager was silent for a moment, then said, These two are not the people I'm looking for. I only suspect that they know the whereabouts of the person I'm looking for, that's all. Isn't this reason too far-fetched? If City Lord E doesn't believe me, this Empress can't do anything about it. All right, since Empress Dowager has said so, how can this Empress not believe you? However, I'll have to trouble Empress Dowager to restrain your subordinates. Don't run amok here. Yi Junling's eyes narrowed, his voice low. After all, you have to know whose territory this is. Empress Dowager's expression changed, anger flashed in her eyes. However, she managed to suppress it, snorting but not saying a word. Yi Junling's eyes shone with a smile, then he turned and left. The people from the Kingdom of Purple Moon were still investigating, but they were not as high profile as before, but the people in the city were still in a state of chaos. Because of Yi Junling's words, the speed of the investigation slowed down. Another day passed, but there was still no sign of them. The Kingdom of Purple Moon expert in charge of the investigation, Li Xian, walked over and said to Empress Dowager helplessly, Empress Dowager, there are too many people in the city, and it's very chaotic. Sometimes, our people have to investigate one person 3 or 4 times, and at this speed, it will take at least half a month to finish. Half a month? Do you think Yi Junling will give us half a month? Empress Dowager said coldly. But other than that, there's no other way. Empress Dowager, those 2 girls, are they really still in Fanghua City? The city is locked down, and the people outside are all our people. If those 2 girls escaped, how could we not know? They must still be in the city. You send another 3,000 people from outside the city to help. Empress Dowager, we've already sent 5,000 people. City Lord E is already displeased. He will definitely not agree to it this time.